Here is the latest Higher Summits forecast brought to you by our friends at the Mount Washington Observatory.
Weather above treeline in the White Mountains is often wildly different than at our trailheads. Before you hike, check the Higher Summits forecast at mountwashington.org. Weather observers working at the nonprofit Mount Washington Observatory write this elevation-based forecast every morning and afternoon. Search and rescue teams, avalanche experts, and backcountry guides all rely on the Higher Summits forecast to anticipate weather conditions above treeline. You should too. Go to mountwashington.org or text forecast to 603-356-2137.
Hello everybody, Nick here with your forecast for the weekend of July 12th, 2025. Friday, in and out of the clouds under increasingly cloudy skies. Chance of showers and thunderstorms early. High, upper 50s. Wind, west, shifting northwest at 15 to 30 miles per hour, decreasing to 5 to 20 miles per hour, with gusts up to 35 miles per hour. Friday night, mostly in the clouds under decreasingly cloudy skies. Low, mid 50s. Wind, west at 10 to 25 miles per hour. Saturday, in and out of the clouds under partly sunny skies. Chance of rain showers late. High, upper 50s. Wind, west, shifting southwest at 15 to 30 miles per hour, with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. Looking pretty decent, at least to start this weekend. Happy hiking, be safe, enjoy.
Broadcasting from the Woodpecker Studio in the great Live Free or Die state of New Hampshire. Welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire and beyond. Here are your hosts, Mike and Dave.
Okay, we are live with Dave Shits in the Woods. So anything can happen tonight.
Anything.
Buckle up.
Yes,
better be ready.
I'm gonna be ready. So, but Nick, I was just saying, like, your music minute is just you. I think you got into my mind and picked like the perfect music minute. So we'll get to that in a minute.
All right. Yeah, I thought I'd throw you a bone this week.
Right.
Commercially success.
I appreciate it. So, Dave, what have you been up to? Anything good?
I just got back from a hiking trip and then back into the pits of hell to work, just to catch up for getting away.
Okay, so, but you got some good stories about the hiking trip for us later, right?
Yeah, I got stories. You guys will decide whether they're good.
Okay. I'll let you know if they're not.
I'm sure. They're not notable, I guarantee that, but they're...
Yeah. Have you been listening to the show? What's the vibe from you now that Stomp has gone on to like an international mysterious assignment for a while? What do you think? Are we holding up okay, or do you have any feedback for us?
Well, if you're anything, you're blunt. You're right on the spot. You love putting people on the spot. So,
right.
But you don't like feedback. So
that's true. I just want you to give a BS answer.
All right. You know, at first it was an adjustment because Stomp's such an integral part of the show.
Thank you.
But really, Nick brings just a different dynamic and a little bit of that youthful perspective. And then it's a different blend, but it's a great blend. It's kind of like changing coffee, but you're still getting the caffeine.
Why do I feel like I'm talking to AI?
Possibly.
Awesome.
But Stomp's been a lot of fun too. Now that the kind of reins are off him, he's been throwing out different ideas like we should try this and we should do that. And
right, yeah, your hike safer was like fantastic. So
awesome.
You were part of that with him, right?
yeah, I legally should I answer
I don't
that?
want to disclose anything.
I was. That was a lot of fun.
Yes.
We had a blast. Just creative and just stupid, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that you guys should continue to do that. Like to add a few Saturday Night Live type skits into the flow of the podcast feed. So we'll look forward to your next big idea.
Great.
Yeah, no pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, right.
No pressure. All right. So I want to get to Nick's Music Minute. So I'm going to kick off the intro here. So welcome to episode 202 of the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast. This week we are joined by friend of the show and bushwhacker extraordinaire. Is there any other superlatives that you want to add in front of your name before I introduce you?
Probably just unnotable would be the only thing I would stick
unnotable. All right, I'm going to do this.
Impossibly unnotable.
Yes,
That's right.
We are joined by friend of the show and bushwhacker extraordinaire and perpetually unnotable Dave Shits in the Woods. So Dave's going to provide a recent trip report on his backpacking trip on the... Can you help me out here, Dave? What is this called?
I think it's Wantastiquet, right?
I was calling it the Wantastiquet.
Yep, there you go.
Wantastiquet Monadnock Trail.
We just have an affinity for Abenaki words.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was breaking out. It was like want ass to quit. And it became you want ass quit. And it was like, we'll stop there.
Yeah.
It's just deteriorated. Like,
yeah. Whatever that Monadnock type trail is there. We've talked about
the
it.
WMT.
Yes. Plus, we're going to go back to July of 1988 and take a look at the case of James Foley. Foley was a missing hiker that unfortunately was found deceased after an extensive 10-day search. So we're going to talk about this case in a lot of detail. It's not a case that I think people are very familiar with, and I'm going to break it down. I was able to get my hands on the accident report or the accident summary from an old Appalachia, so I want to break it down. Plus, there was some other stuff going on right around that time, so I think it's a pretty interesting segment. Plus, this plus recent hikes on Wachusett, the Dry River to Mount Monroe. We had rescues on Mount Washington and the Great Gulf Trail. We got a little bit of gear review. I got some new toys today and dad jokes, and then we've got strategies to avoid grizzly bear attacks. So I'm Mike.
And I'm Nick.
Let's get started.
Let's get started!
All right, so let's get into our friend Christina's segment here with the Wild Raven Enduring Coaching, and then we will come back on the other side. So,
Hi, I'm Christina from Wild Raven Endurance Coaching. I work with athletes of all levels, from hikers to triathletes, helping you reach your goals with personalized guidance. With years of experience hiking, mountain biking, and trail running across New England, I also have a deep knowledge of the New Hampshire 4,000 footers and the surrounding trails. Whether you're a beginner hiker or a seasoned athlete, I'll guide you towards your goals, reducing injury risk and improving your performance through smart, tailored coaching. Are you looking to transition from hiking to mountain running? I'm here to make that journey easier too. My approach combines strength training, mindfulness, and life balance on and off the trail. Let me help you find more joy in your sport while getting stronger and healthier along the way. Visit www.coaching.christinafolsick.com and start your adventure today.
oh, my voice cracked when I did it.
It was a little Peter Brady
There's
there.
a little Peter Brady there. So,
Mike's,
When it's time to change.
Mike reached puberty.
Hey.
do you, Nick, do you know when we said it's time to change in Peter Brady, do you know what we're talking about?
I know who Peter Brady is, but I have no idea what the reference is.
Okay, so there was
Full
an
disclosure.
episode of the Brady Bunch where Peter Brady was going through puberty, and it was like basically it was a lesson for people to be understanding about young men when they go through puberty. And one of the milestones of going through puberty is when your voice changes.
Yeah.
And Peter was part of the Brady singing group, and they had like for whatever reason, they had like a singing contract or like a commitment to sing on a local TV station. And he was supposed to do his part, and he was singing the song, "When it's time to change, you've got to rearrange. You've got to take the good with the bad." I don't know why I know all the words to that song. But anyway, when his part came, he was like, "When it's time to change," he then said, "When it's time to change," and his voice cracked.
What? Yeah.
And that's how you learned about puberty back when you were that age, because you didn't learn about it in school and your parents didn't tell you anything.
No health class or anything like that?
Nothing.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
I remember it being on Nick at Night when I was a kid, watching it every now and then.
So
I remember that episode.
That's your next music minute. You're going to have to review the Brady album.
Oh my gosh, that's a good idea.
Album?
Before we get into the music minute,
Yeah, they really do.
Dave, Nick was a subject of discussion on the trail when I was hiking with the guys this weekend. He didn't join us, but he was like very prominent in the discussion. So number one, I've discovered there's 3 things that Nick has never done that are shocking and unbelievable. The first one we talked about, he'd never gone to Dairy Queen. So
that was a stunner.
Stunner, right?
Yeah, that was like, I mean, if you played sports as a kid, like you just wind up at every ice cream place on the planet, right? Like,
right. It's just shocking that anybody from New England that reached your 30s never got a Dairy Queen. So I feel like happy that, but that's your assignment, Nick, is you have to make sure that your kids go to Dairy Queen.
Okay, I can do that.
So, but the next one was that Nick has never hiked Tuckerman Ravine.
Fact.
That was was a big topic of conversation. Like Steve and Jake and everybody was like, "I can't believe Nick hasn't hiked Tuckerman."
I'm not that surprised, because I didn't hike it till I was in my 40s, and I only hiked it one way because we were doing a traverse, so I came down it.
See, thanks, Dave.
So it's not that shocking, because there's a lot of trails up there.
Yeah, I've always come from the western side.
Most people are on the other, so the Jewel side and the Ammonoosuc side, and they kind of wear that out. Then they kind of make their way around.
Yeah, for me, it's drive.
Yeah.
Probably drive time's been a good amount of it too. It's a lake. It's probably like 15, 20 minutes closer to get to that side. But yeah, for whatever reason, I've gone on Boot Spur over Isolation and kind of gone in that area, but I've never been any of those eastern side trails. Never been in the Great Gulf either. That's probably less surprising. But
yeah, we talked about that. I had theorized. I was saying to them, I was like, exactly. I just don't know. Maybe him and Ashley have like a deal where you got to wait to both go together, and just the timing hasn't worked out.
Yeah, no deal there. There is a hard deal with New England 67 4,000 footers. I am not allowed to touch any more of those.
Right.
Without her. Oh. We're holding fast at 60 for a while. I can go to the Adirondacks though and hike a bunch of other stuff. All so right.
Well, that's fair.
No new 67s.
Yeah. And then the third one, I found this one out. So Nick came over and hung out at Papa's Beach for a little while, and I found out.
So nervous right now.
Yeah. You know where I'm going with this one, Nick?
I don't.
I don't think I do.
All right, this is the one.
He doesn't know how to swim?
You said no. It's sort of in that line, but he had said that he doesn't really ride. I think he can probably do this, but he said he doesn't really ride bikes.
No, I never really learned how to ride a bike growing up. True story.
Really?
No.
Really?
Kind of just. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, for whatever reason, had friends that rode bikes, but then we got into skateboarding probably when we were like 11 or 12, and we used to just skateboard like everywhere.
Right.
So
like if you were on trail and there was a bear chasing you and we're like, quick, jump on the bikes, you're like, oh, you're dead.
I'd probably be dead. Yeah.
You'd have to look back and you'd like, oh no, and then like just teeter and tip over, like, I don't know what to do.
You guys know that I'd be vulnerable now if we were in that situation on like the Lincoln Woods Trail. So you get a fall guy. But yeah, no, I never really learned. So I blame my parents. But yeah, so
no Dairy Queen, no bikes.
Here's the thing.
I feel is it too old? You're too old to call DSS, right? Like we can't.
I think so. I think by this point.
But now at some point you have to learn. I'm going to teach you to ride a bike.
So super awkward.
My God.
We're like in like a parking lot in New Hampshire somewhere in the Whites.
That'd be hilarious.
I'll just hang out for a week.
I have a SLASR helmet
cover
on.
You when your teeth get knocked out and you can't speak.
Yeah.
You're getting dental work done because Mike shoves you and you're like, you got it.
It'll be like, wasn't there was a rapper that got his mouth sewed shut or whatever and wrote some stuff, right? It'll be something like that where like, oh, Nick can't come on the podcast. This Mike tried to teach him how to ride a bike and then he busted his face up and now his jaw is wired shut and he can't talk.
Imagine. I know. Well, we could teach you on what would be a good place to go if we ever hike in Franconia. Like at the bottom of Kinsman Ridge Trail, there's that like kind of field before you hit the parking lot. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like that would be a good place to learn to ride a bike because there's like the bike path there, but then there's also a bunch of grass We could put
fall
you
down on the grass a bunch of times.
I like how much thought you've already put into this.
Oh yeah, I'm like
How big are training wheels? Like, can you get training wheels for
no
like a
training
20-inch
wheels.
bike?
He's going.
I don't know.
Oh, he's going right at it.
Right at it.
Oh wow.
Just how I'm gonna bust my face open.
So, have you thought about like because your kids are going to need to learn how to ride a bike?
Oh yeah,
Like,
we have a bike path
this?
over here and stuff too in East Providence. So yeah, I'll probably have to learn at some point.
Okay. Well,
Were you gonna like avoid it and just be like, you know what, bikes are for Hell's Angels. We don't. That's a bad path. We're not going to introduce those. Like,
I have actually ridden a dirt bike before, or driven a
so
dirt
it's
bike
similar.
before. But I feel like it's a lot more momentum involved, I think, with a dirt bike because you're just kind of hitting it and you can't top over as easily.
That seems like right in the fast lane. That seems dangerous.
Yeah,
like skipping the bike and going right to a motorcycle.
friends that were into ATVs and dirt bikes that I hung out with every now and then. So didn't do it extensively, but definitely gave it a few tries.
Mike, you have to now like research 3 things that like Nick can do that like we don't know. Like he can do magic or like.
But he's got
like,
he's got all the musical talent, so that's the thing. It's like
Okay.
he spent his time and effort learning instruments and singing and stuff. So we all have our talents.
Okay.
I really don't have any talents other than just like I can identify what other people don't know how to do, but that's not a talent.
It's a gift.
I appreciate the breakdown and the build back up.
Get to know Nick. All right, Nick. Let's move on to the music.
Still a lot to process.
There is, there is.
Try not to mention bikes or ice cream because I don't want to be offended.
It's like, oh, it's awkward.
Right?
Believe me, I have.
It'd be a great night for and a nice just to hang out and sit in the house. It's a great day to sit in the house.
If you guys
Not
ever
a bike
get a
ride or
chance,
ice cream.
if you guys ever get a chance to hike with Caroline again, just corner her. She'll give you a list. Stuff. All right, so let's move on to the music minute here. So Nick, you picked a good one here, so I'll let you take it away.
Sure. So this, interestingly enough, this artist came up in conversation. We were all hanging out at Dirigible Brewing Co. after hiking Wachusett Sunday. Forget exactly how, but I started listening to it on the way home and remembered what a great album it is. So this week we've got The Way It Is by Bruce Hornsby and the Range. Came out in 1986. It was the debut album by the band Bruce Hornsby and the Range. Bruce Hornsby is a pianist, singer, and songwriter from Virginia. He was born in 1954, and he's won 3 Grammys, and one of which was for the group that produced this album. So Bruce Hornsby, if you go on his resume, he's played on tour with a ton of different bands, and most extensively with the Grateful Dead up to Jerry Garcia's death. He was known to have a close musical relationship with Jerry Garcia. He's also known pretty prominently, I think most people know the song The End of Innocence by Don Henley, but he actually co-wrote The End of Innocence with Don Henley of the Eagles in 1989. I was kind of confused. I was listening to a live album by him once, and he was singing this, and I'm like, I feel like I know this song, but obviously his vocals are way different than Don Henley's, so it's a little bit different, but he plays piano and wrote that whole thing for him. He's also appeared on albums with Robbie Robertson, Bob Dylan, Crosby, Stills, Nash, Stevie Nicks, and Squeeze, to name a few. So this album was led by its hit title track, The Way It Is, which I'm sure most people are familiar with. It's even on commercials and all sorts of other things. Even if you haven't heard the song directly, going to look, listening for it, you probably heard the piano riff to it at some point. And this album, thinking and hearkening back to Mike complaining that I didn't pick a commercially successful album last week.
This one had some big singles.
This one went multi-platinum. And it contributed to the group winning a Grammy for Best New Artist. That was one of the Grammys that Bruce Hornsby's won in his life. Singles included the title track, The Way It Is, Mandolin Rain, and Every Little Kiss. I think the whole album as a whole is just great. It's kind of an easy listening album. There's nothing really bad or dull on it. I think in terms of tracks, it's not too long. It's kind of short and sweet and tight. The original release was in early 1986 of the album, and the cover had Bruce Hornsby playing an accordion on it. And after it got really commercially successful, and this is like talking from April to I think literally the fall when I was reading about dates, they actually reproduced a few songs on it, and they actually made the current album cover, or the album cover that is probably known to be released with, which actually has a sepia tone of the whole band superimposed over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel in Virginia, which is fitting since I believe Bruce Hornsby's from Virginia. And my last note I had, just a personal note, was I can vividly remember my parents playing this tape in their tape deck in their 1987 Toyota Camry when I was in the back as a little young tyke in the early 90s. And also frequented, probably during that time, were tapes for the album Crash by Dave Matthews Band and Out of Time by R.E.M. So kind of dating that time period a little bit. Album's got fantastic production quality, and I still think it holds up really well to this day.
Yeah, and I think that the thing that stands out with Bruce Hornsby in the Range to me is that I feel like he kind of kicked off of kind of a mini subgenre of the sort of musical driven lyric songs. Like Mark Cohen came out with like Walking in Memphis that was along the same vibe, and then you had Jeff Healey with Angel Eyes and a bunch of other artists. Like you said, like I don't always know that, but like Don Henley, like he had 2 amazing albums. I know I forget the name of the second one, but yeah, he sort of kicked off like a whole little genre of late 80s into early 90s singer-songwriter, pianist type vibe, which is cool.
It's funny, when I originally was looking up and I think just by lyrics, I was like, what is this song like the way it is? And I started looking it up, and I really got confused in my head. Again, probably growing up, because that was Walking in Memphis was like another, I forget what is the album called, Walking in Memphis by Mark Cohen? I forget if that's what it is. Yeah. But like, I remember my parents playing that a bunch too, so I kind of got confused between the two of them. But yeah, it seems like you had Billy Joel and like, what's his name? Billy Joel and Elton John kind of doing a big piano thing in the 70s and 80s, and then it seems like it kind of went out and then fused into this sort of new thing that Bruce Hornsby kicked out. It's kind of interesting.
Right. So yeah, it's a good pick. So well done.
Thanks.
Yeah, The End of the Innocents is a great album too, as is Building the Perfect Machine, which is by Don Henley. That's another great one.
Yeah.
I did see him on tour with the Dead. He was incredibly talented.
Bruce Hornsby. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it said he played over 100 shows with them, and still played a little bit after Jerry Garcia passed away. But I think after that, it sounded like emotionally he found it hard to like perform with them after he passed. And he's involved in like, it seemed like he's played with like almost everybody. Like looking at his resume, like it was fairly impressive.
It was super talented.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well done, Nick. Well done. So let's go on to a couple of recent rescues that happened in New Hampshire this week. So the first one, there was video going around on this one where it was a helicopter rescue of a rock climber in Huntington Ravine. So we included the video, I think, in some of our social media feeds, but we'll also drop it in the show notes here. But on Wednesday, July 2nd, rescuers from around the state collaborated to help a rock climber who had fallen and badly injured himself in Huntington Ravine on Mount Washington. So this happened around 1 o'clock, and there was a group of hikers that were heading up Huntington Ravine, and they actually witnessed the man free fall about 60 feet in the area of Pinnacle Buttress. I don't really know the little nooks and crannies of Huntington Ravine. I just know the Fan, but I don't know where the Pinnacle is. Guys, help me out a little bit.
Nope, got me on that one.
I'm trying to Google.
No, I've done as much as Nick has done Tuckerman. So.
Okay, so there we go. But so basically, as authorities work to gather more info, a 911 call came in from rock climbers who had, I guess, rappelled down to the fallen man after being alerted by the hikers. So the climbers were able to provide first aid and give more detailed information and a good location. So they determined that the guy was suffering from a lot of injuries, and they were thinking it was life-threatening. So because of this in the terrain, Fish and Game coordinated a rescue response with multiple agencies. So the state park came down to the area, mountain rescue was activated, and a crew from the New Hampshire Army National Guard responded to provide air support. The weather conditions were favorable for the crew, and they were able to hoist the fallen climber down or up from Huntington Ravine around 3 o'clock. So that's pretty good. 1 o'clock fall, and he's up in the air at 3 o'clock. So they flew him directly to Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center in Lebanon. So he went right to the big medical center there, and afterwards, a team of Mountain Rescue Service volunteers climbed down and assisted the Good Samaritan climbers who had helped the victim. So the group of climbers and volunteers were then able to climb back up to the Alpine Garden area. They met with a conservation officer and got a ride down the mountain, and everybody was back safely down the mountain by about 6:30. So hiker was a 31-year-old climber from New Orleans, Louisiana, and he had climbed the area before and was familiar with the route. But yeah, this is a good weather. Luckily, there were hikers right there to alert the other climbers that this guy had fallen, and the helicopter got there in time. So everything went right for this guy as far as the rescue side of it. I don't know about his injuries, but there's no follow-up for that.
And Mike, just looking, because you were curious where it was, I just looked up a quick thing of Huntington Ravine climbing routes, kind of the pictures. The pinnacle looks like it's more or less left, like if you're looking at Huntington Ravine, it's more or less left of Central Gully. It's kind of this buttress that sticks out, I guess left center of Huntington Ravine, if you're kind of looking at it from far away.
Yeah. My impression, I don't know much about rock climbing, but like the times I've been in Huntington, most of the climbing seems to be over on the left-hand side in comparison to when you go up the fan, which is this like steep rock slab that you climb up. So makes sense.
Would he have made it had anybody not seen him?
I'm assuming somebody would have seen him eventually because that area, I think, I'm trying to think here, it was on July 2nd. So I'm guessing that like a lot of people would take an early vacation, and yeah, there was people in there. The weather was good that day, and I think the weather was decent on that Thursday as well. I can't remember now, but I think the weather was decent on that Thursday as well. So I suspect that somebody would have spotted him, but I don't know if he had a phone on him. I feel like cell connection's not bad in Huntington, so who knows? So, but it gets pretty busy in there. So, but all right, on to the next one. Hopefully that guy is feeling better and he'll be back to climbing soon. This next one was on Sunday morning, which I found this interesting. So there was a hiker that had become exhausted and fell several times the previous night, suffering minor injuries. And ultimately, she sent a text to 911 as a notification of what she was experiencing. I would never think to send a text to 911.
I didn't know that was even a thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it makes sense. Just, you're right. I
know if you call now, I think like almost no matter what with the newer phones, it'll like ping your, like, I guess, GPS location or your location off a satellite, like even if you try to dial it. But I would assume maybe texting does the same thing, so maybe that's why they thought of it.
Yeah.
Did she send emojis too?
I don't know if. Well, let me ask you this: if you needed a rescue, Dave, and you were going to text 911, what emojis would you use?
The shit emoji right off the bat.
Right,
that's a given. Like shit.
It's like the bad signal,
right?
So
I mean, it's kind of like a calling card, but also like, I mean, if I broke a leg, maybe a picture of a leg.
Okay, I get that.
Or like maybe a leaf and see if they could back into it, like fall. I mean, I'm not going to make it easy for them.
Okay, so they're gonna have to
it's like directional arrows and stuff. Like, what is he trying to say? It's like hieroglyphs.
Sounds like.
Yeah.
Why
letters.
give them specific information when I can make them guess?
Right. I mean, I'm on a limited plan. I mean, you're going to have to figure this out. I'm not paying for those characters. I mean, come on. I'm on a budget here.
Oh, golly.
And you made me choke, Dave.
Sorry.
So anyway, let's get back to this young lady who is in trouble, and she's on the Great Gulf Trail. So she texted 911. She did not request an immediate rescue, but during the early hours, she sent her text. So she was basically like, heads up, I might need a rescue. But then later on in the early morning hours, she sent a text reporting that she was cold and feared hypothermia. So conservation officers responded on Sunday morning by driving up the auto road and accessing the Great Gulf Trail from the top. They hiked down a treacherously slippery rock scree field and located the hiker, 30-year-old from Danbury, Connecticut, in the same location as her initial 911 text. The hiker was provided with warm fluids, food, and warm clothing, and after being given time to rewarm and replenish calories, she and the conservation officers hiked back up the rock scree field and made it back to the auto road by about 11:30 a.m. The hiker's an avid hiker who possessed a hike safe card. She carried all 10 essentials, and those essentials were instrumental in making sure that she ended up unscathed through a chilly night perched on the side of a rock slide at 4,600 feet of elevation without suffering from more serious injuries. So the conditions of the trail, exhaustion, and fearing serious injury by continuing down the rocky slide were the main contributing factors. So I don't know what was going on here. She must have been behind her hiking schedule or something. The weather was not that bad when I was up there around 3-4 o'clock on Saturday, but overnight on a Sunday, especially if you got to sit on the ground, I'm sure that it got cold.
Yeah, especially if she was super sweaty from going up the Great Gulf all day and didn't have any dry clothing to change into or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what the wind was that night either.
Yeah, there was it was shocking how little wind. There was no wind whatsoever up on top. Rare. But it probably could pick. I mean, that doesn't mean anything at 4 o'clock on Saturday compared to Sunday night. So
yeah.
Anyway, or Saturday night into Sunday morning. But anyway, all's well that ends well there. So that's it. It was kind of a quiet 4th of July weekend, which is good. But next up on New Hampshire stuff, Stomp had put this in here. Stomp, I think this is Stomp, right, Nick?
Yep. Yeah, this was Stomp.
Can you explain this? Because I'm not sure I totally understand it.
So it looks like this GeoWizard basically has encourages people to basically do these challenges where they actually try to take a straight line traversing certain things. And this video is interesting. Basically, this guy, Magnus, actually tries to do it and does it across Norway. I actually didn't watch the full video. I kind of ended up starting it at lunch and kind of went through to the end. But I think he was pointing out, too, that nobody's actually done this in New Hampshire to try a straight line path across the whites or something like that. Basically, they're not deviating from this path by a mile or something to get around obstacles or things like that.
I wonder... Does it matter? Does a straight line have to be directional in a compass, or can it be in any direction?
I'm not positive on that. I think it just had to be a straight line. I don't think the direction necessarily mattered.
I think you picked 2 points based on what I watched the video as well. I think you picked 2 points, and you have to straightest line you can between those 2 points.
Yeah, because I think that the most But then you also have to avoid private property. So that must dictate that you can't do it by the... I guess you could... I'm just looking at a map here, and it seems to me like the most obvious way to do this would be to make your way through... You'd have to do something from the Pemi Wilderness through the Presidentials and into the Wild River. Would be the longest way to do it, I think.
I feel like it would be impossible with the amount of scrub and blowdowns and bogs and how would you do it?
Well, I mean, we were thinking about that. So when we went up to Dry River, and I'll talk about this in more detail, but when you enter Oaks Gulf, which is basically that ravine that starts from Boot Spur and Isolation really, and then Boot Spur, and then wraps around to Monroe and goes all the way. That area there, when we were heading up to Dry River to go up the head wall of Monroe, off to the right-hand side, you could go up to Isolation or Boot Spur, but we were saying there must be maybe the number of people that have actually gone into that area would be in the dozens in the last 50 years, I would guess. So
yeah, it's not an area you just go into.
Right. So
and it's what does it say? It's a 12K challenge. So
12,
what is that?
12 kilometers?
6+ miles.
Yeah, I guess you could do. I mean, you could stand 6 miles.
I'm just thinking lower elevation, you could probably get away with it, but when you start to get in the higher elevation with the pencil pines and the blowdowns and the scrub and I'm trying to think of where you could pull that off.
Yeah.
I feel like there's too many cliffs in the whites and stuff to be able to do that for over even a 6 mile span.
Other than Lincoln Woods. I mean, that's
just
there's just 6 miles straight line.
Well, I do know that people will they'll go from Franconia Ridge and they'll go directly across the Pemi. I don't know if that's exactly a straight line, but like Franconia Ridge up to Bondcliff, people have bushwhacked that, and that's close to a straight line over Owl's Head. Not exactly, but close.
Still be pretty wild going up, basically down like the Lincoln Slide, up potentially and over Owl's Head, and then like back down and up like Hellgate Ravine or like one of those to hit like Bondcliff. Like you can't, I don't think you could go straight up to Bondcliff. I mean, without rope. Anyways.
Was it the guitar slide or one of the slides there?
Yeah,
maybe,
but even then you'd be like swinging sort of around it.
Yeah, that hooks you right around. So you'd have to go straight up the face of Bondcliff, I think.
Because a mile's a pretty big swath. I mean, a mile's a good amount to move around things, but it still seems like a lot. I mean,
yeah, I'd be curious if even Bondcliff and like Owl's Head are even a mile apart. An owl is not a unit of measurement.
It's a new. Yeah.
It's an owl and a half.
That's almost 6,000 owls, if I remember right. I mean, that's
you lay them down head to toe.
And they were barred owls, so I mean, they were they're not great horned owls. That's
true. They don't have the tufts.
I think you also like if your name is Magnus, then you can do things like this. But maybe we're just Dave and Mike and Nick. I don't know if we're built for this type of thing. But anyway, if anyone's interested in the straight line challenge, we'll put this in the show notes and you can check it out. And then maybe we'll come up with some ideas. I feel like you and Stomp, Dave, this is a bushwhacking challenge that you guys could take on.
I think I'm intrigued. I'm going to look at some stuff and see if there is a point to point that could be done.
Okay.
Or at least tried.
All right. So let me ask you this, Dave. So if you pull your car off to the side of the road and you happen to see a grizzly bear come up, what is your move? Because this guy had that happen to him in Grand Teton, and there's a picture of this news article, and this guy decided he was going to dive into his car. Is it the Dukes of Hazzard that used to do that? They would, they would
slide across the hood.
Yeah. I think he did that, but he dived in head first into his car to get away from a grizzly bear, which I think is pretty funny.
Yeah, it's probably the best way out. I mean, other than going across the hood and jumping in there, but it's a pretty good response.
Yeah. So I guess that's the move right there. So there's a link here, and the guy tells a story about how to avoid the bear, and
he dove in his car, and now he's an expert.
Yeah, and he and the photographer talks about how he was at the perfect place at the perfect time to get this guy's feet going. He went head first
to get it to the guy's butt hanging out of the car.
Yeah,
it could have been so worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could have gotten mauled and then written a book on how not to get away from a grizzly bear.
Yes. So anyway, but I'll link this weird article in the show notes, and you guys can take a look at this. But I feel like the key to avoiding a grizzly bear is to you don't pull over when you see a grizzly bear. You just stay in your car or you just run away. This next one here is a sad story. 14-year-old California boy walked off of a 120-foot cliff in front of his father. So this kid was an experienced hiker, and him and his dad would go out quite a lot. The father was he's in better shape than I am. He had hiking experience. He's an active kid, distance runner, swimmer, triathlon. And the idea is that, they wanted to get him into mountaineering. So the father took him up onto Mount Whitney in the Sierra Nevada mountain range, and the kid started experiencing symptoms of altitude sickness, his father said. So the father was watching his son have issues. They had already finished the toughest part of the hike, and then they decided to take an easier trail to ensure that there was a safer descent back to the car. As they were heading towards a trail, the father said that the son, Zane was his name, he started to experience hallucinations. He knew he was hallucinating. He said he saw things like snowmen and Kermit the Frog. He's a 14-year-old kid, so that's the type of stuff that he's coming up with. So the father was keeping a close eye on the son as they made their way down the trail and noticed that he looked better. But an hour later, he started acting strangely again. And, the father thinks that it was a combination of exhaustion, sleep deprivation, and dehydration, and lasting effects from altitude sickness. but he was basically hallucinating. He was telling his dad that like he finished the hike. His father said that it was just like he didn't really know what to do. The son said he didn't know if he was dreaming or not. And there was a separate group of hikers that decided to call for search and rescue to get him down the mountain. But as this was going on, the son started making erratic movements towards a ledge near the trail, and he ended up, I guess, stopping him from that point from jumping. But the 14-year-old said he's going to go into the car. They still had a couple thousand feet to go, and later on, the father, I guess, just was overwhelmed trying to keep this under control. He started crying and let the kid go by mistake, I guess. And that's when the son walked off and fell over the edge of this 120-foot cliff before hitting the ground, which is brutal. So luckily, one of the nearby hikers was an EMT, but they ended up rescuing the kid. They airlifted him out of there, and there's a GoFundMe set up to pay for his medical bills. The kid's improving now, but he was pretty...
He's still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive. He had brain swelling. He had signs of high-altitude cerebral edema, and, wasn't a good sign. So anyway, he's still alive. There's a GoFundMe. I'll put it in the show notes, but luckily he's alive. But scary thing here, so don't mess around with it. I don't know what else the father could have done. It seems like they maybe should have called for a rescue a little earlier.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. It's funny because with altitude sickness, I would have thought that like he wouldn't have even been able to like move or walk or do anything if he was that far along. But I don't know. I only have a friend that's had altitude sickness, and they said basically that it was horrible, and they like wouldn't have been able to even walk. Like they had such a bad headache and nausea and stuff. Like it was just like kind of game over. So I don't know. Maybe it snuck up on this kid and kind of affected him differently. But that's a horrible story.
Yeah, it's too bad. Hey, you want to do this next one, Nick? A Bostonian falls 30 feet into boiling caldera.
Sure. And we want to make sure you don't get too close to any of those volcanoes when you're down in Hawaii.
Seriously.
Later on, we don't want to hear about anybody from Amesbury.
Yes.
This article, a tourist is lucky to be alive after falling nearly 30 feet off of a cliff towards an erupting volcano in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park last week. So the 30-year-old man from Boston had wandered off the park's Byron Ledge Trail on Wednesday in an attempt to get a closer look at the Kilauea eruption. Might be mispronouncing that, Kilauea. When he ventured too close to the edge of a steep cliff, according to park officials. His fall was partially broken by a tree. I don't know if that's really a positive thing, but I guess in this case it is, because it prevented him from plunging another 100 feet to the caldera floor. So I believe the caldera floor would be like the center of the volcano. Search and rescue teams already stationed nearby to help manage traffic began looking for the man around 9 p.m. after receiving reports that someone had fallen into the crater area. He was then located and safely pulled out with a high-angle rope rescue. The man, who is not carrying a flashlight or a headlamp, sustained only minor facial injuries. At the time of the incident, Kilauea was erupting dramatically with lava fountains shooting over 1,000 feet in the air, according to the National Park Service. The article just reminds you to follow the principles of leave no trace, which is kind of an interesting ending to a man almost falling in a volcano article. But yeah, that's pretty wild. I also find it surprising, like, and I've seen videos on Instagram and other things too, with how close some people get to these volcanoes in different areas of the world when they're like, again, this thing's shooting lava 1,000 feet into the air. And the guy's getting close enough that he can almost fall off a cliff into the volcano. Like, it just seems dangerous and like not a great decision.
No. You can almost hear the soundtrack too, like, I'm gonna picture the lava down here.
Yeah, right.
Ah, crap. I'm wicked close. Oh gosh, wicked hot in here. Throw me a rope, huh?
I'm not
like a cheeseburger.
I'm not going to any calderas. Piss off.
Good thing this tree was here, huh?
Well, keeping with the theme of people falling into volcanoes, I got this article sent to me by a bunch of people. This was in the news for actually a while. But family is upset about the botched rescue of a Brazilian dancer who died in a volcano as her body's finally retrieved. So this made it all over the news. And the reason this made it over the news is because I guess she's a social media influencer, dancer. Her name was Juliana Marins. She's 26 years old. She fell into a volcano, Mount Rinjani, on Lombok Island on Wednesday after she slipped and slid hundreds of feet down this volcano during a hike. Search teams had faced challenging weather and low visibility. The tough part about this one was that they actually were able to get a drone down into the area where she was, and the girl is like sitting there on the edge of this this area of the volcano, and she's clearly alive. She's just kind of chilling out. But unfortunately, they weren't able to get to her because of the weather conditions. So, but they have drone footage. I mean, she's looking right up at the drone, and she seems like she's, in pretty good condition. But unfortunately, the rescue team was not able to get to her in time, and she ended up, unfortunately, dying. They felt like there was like a lack of communication between the Indonesian and Brazilian authorities, and they questioned even why it remained open to visitors during the search. According to the Indonesian government, they said a bunch of people have died in this area, and it's a risky area. But they just basically said that they were unable to mount a rescue for her due to the weather and the conditions there. So sad story. But eventually they did recover her body 4 days later, but it was too late for her. But heartbreaking for the family to have to see that drone footage of her just literally sitting there. And you see the footage and you're like, well, why can't you just go down and get her? But I don't know enough about the terrain or the weather conditions. It could be that like the conditions just got significantly worse over time. But definitely heartbreaking.
It's hard to make jokes when you have heavy stories like this.
Seriously, I apologize, Dave. I'll get to this next one here. So Stomp pulled this one. 2025 National Pony Express Association is going to recreate their rides from Sacramento, California to St. Joseph, Missouri, galloping across Wyoming on Tuesday and spending much of the afternoon on the Oregon Trail through Ranch County. So if you want to get your Pony Express going, Dave, you can get on a pony. And just on the pictures of these, it looks like these horses are going to get a good workout.
Is that a height joke that I couldn't have a full horse, that I need a pony? Is that?
You need a pony, Dave. Listen,
right,
I'm a short guy too.
Fair. That's fair.
I'm a short guy too.
My legs would probably still not touch.
Yeah. So the Central Wyoming Division captain said that she's keeping an eye out on the weather for this, but they're trying to basically recreate almost the exact original route of the Pony Express, which used to go from Missouri to Sacramento. That's cool. That's how they used to get the mail back in the day.
Now, Nick, you never played Oregon Trail, right? Where you die of dysentery. You never get to play that.
No,
one, right?
I know of it though, just because I think there's so many memes like that have been made about Oregon Trail. One of these guys has a burly beard, Dave, so I could see you doing this. I think I could see you riding across Wyoming.
Yeah, get a spittoon. The mail's coming. The mail's coming.
They have a cool, they almost have, it's almost like a UPS jacket that they have on, but they have a red shirt. But something about that brown and gold color combination and delivering stuff seems to work well.
Probably still get here faster than regular mail.
It's true. That's true.
Fair.
They said back in the pioneer days that the Pony Express was one of the most dangerous jobs that you could possibly have, between river crossings and robbers and Native Americans and illness and disease. It was just insane, the number of deaths involved in the Pony Express, as well as the wagon trains that would go out from Oregon and California on the Oregon-California Trail.
Are you ready for SLASR's Gear Review?
Glad we don't have those dangers anymore. But you know what is dangerous, Dave?
Everything.
I got a new Silky Saw Big Boy for my trail maintenance.
Oh, it came in?
Yeah.
That is
excellent.
More dangerous than fireworks.
Right. We're going to talk about gear review here. I got a few things. So the Silky Saw, I ended up getting the 14-inch big boy, Nick.
Oh boy, the Stitch Maker.
Now, is that the biggest one they make? Is that like the medium size?
I'm not sure.
I was hoping maybe you go for the katana like our AMC trainer Craig had.
Yeah, I don't think it's not as big as that one, but yeah, I got a pretty good sized one, and I carried it this weekend on my hike just in case, but there was never any time where I even considered taking that thing out.
In case a bear came out of the woods.
Exactly. I was like, well,
on guard.
Yeah, I might need to slice a bear open, but no need. But I do like it. It's nice. I showed my father-in-law. He was impressed, but I am ready to go for my trail maintenance.
Did you just stash it in your side, one of the side pockets on your pack, or?
I just put it inside. I have like a sit pad that goes up against my back. Although I use the Valcluse, but it goes up against my back, and I just slid it into that back.
Okay. How long is it folded up?
It's 14-inch blade, so it's 14 inches basically because it folds up.
So you were just waiting for that moment to everybody step back. I got this.
I'm going to clear this blow down.
Do not try to go around this 4-inch tree. Yes. I will handle this. Everybody stand back.
I'll save you.
So. Shing! Unsheaths the blade.
I got a couple of other things here. I've got I set up my hammock at my father-in-law's place this weekend, and I was all comfy, and I blew up my backpacking pillow. I have a pillow that you blow up, and the thing deflated, so I had to get a new pillow, which is I got one that has like kind of a curve to it. Do you when you go backpacking, Dave, do you have a pillow, or do you just use like...
I don't. I use a hammock system, but I also use a sleep sack or other. So sometimes if my clothes aren't too smelly, I'll flip a sack inside out, like a dry sack.
Yep.
And I'll put the crappy stuff inside and zip it up and use that as a pillow.
That's a good idea.
I've done that too, but
less weight.
I'm a little bougie with the, it's only I'm going out for 2 nights, 3 days. So I'm like, I'll be comfortable.
Yeah, why not, right?
Right. And then because I've got a backpacking trip coming up here, I've decided I'm not going to mess around with trying to hang my food. So I've got a beer vault that I'm going to use because I'm only going to be out 2 nights. And I got these barrier bags, which you can put food into, and they won't, it basically like limits it's a smell blocker. So my thought is that I'm going to put the food inside the barrier bags and then put it inside the beer canister. And then I can just walk it out a couple 100 feet away from my camp. But I found that these barrier bags are they're I guess they're Ziploc, but you can add boiling water to these. They're called snack ZR bags. So you can actually use these. You can put boiling water in them to rehydrate food if you want to make your own food.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then food, it keeps unwanted critters away from your campsite. Chips and crackers remain crisp. I'm going somewhere here for you, Dave, on this.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
You can pack out body waste, including soiled diapers, in this. Okay. So that was where I was going for you.
You could.
Yes, you could.
Dave, you could. I mean,
Dave shits in a bag.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, this
Dave carries his shit. Nope, doesn't quite flow as well, does it?
Right.
Dave with shit.
Now this is another one, Nick. Maybe you have an idea on this one. It says 3 to 4 hour results when used as a anaerobic chamber. I don't know what that means.
To like.
I don't know.
Like for like a leg cast?
Is that like one of those, I know there's things people will wear to make it more difficult to breathe, like when you're working out and stuff?
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. That seems like
you put a plastic bag in your head.
Exactly. I mean, that seems like a bad thing, but usually anaerobic would mean...
They say not to do that. It's pretty clear on the bags. But
Yeah. I learned that from like Saturday morning cartoons. Long-term biohazard storage, long-term waterproof to 60 meters or 200 feet. And then they can be washed using hot water and common dishwashing liquid.
What would you consider a long-term biohazard?
Like nuclear storage or something, obviously.
Oh, okay. Like the plutonium I got kicking around the base. Right. I've been wondering what the hell to do with it. And like
my brain went to like Dexter, like I'd be careful if you're carrying those out in the woods. You might worry people that you're gonna I don't know, chop them up and
he whips up a saw. He's measuring the leg.
I got the big boy.
Steve
if I cut the leg into
this
many, I could fit it in at least 3 bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're making it easy for Steve if Steve finally just tries to make his move if you bring that saw out with you.
That's right. That's right. So
I think the best way to test that is just to throw it in someone else's tent and see how it goes.
True. But anyway, so I'll be prepared for the backpacking trip with my new swag. I'm not going to take the big boy saw. I'll keep that at home because I'm going to worry about the weight a little bit, but I'll be comfortable. And then I'm not dealing with I tried to hang food in this area where we're camping, and it's like unknown pond we'll be at. That's going to be easy because we can just basically use the beer box, but there's going to be other parts where we're going to be camping out where I don't want to deal with it. So
I'd be curious too if you're staying in any kind of shelter, because usually the mice are what get you.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious if they don't go after the plastic, or there's any kind of scent on the bag.
Well, it'll be inside. It'll be inside the beer canister, so there'll be no way they'd be able to get in.
I'd be curious if they're still attracted to it. Like, you have to set up a GoPro next to it.
Yeah.
As far as bear canister, how are you stuffing that like in your bigger pack? Or are you like hanging it off the back, or like how does that work?
I put it at the bottom of my pack.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I've noticed some people, what they'll do is they'll keep it empty and they'll like strap it to the outside of their pack.
Yeah.
But I have enough room where I'm going to have a tent. It'll fit in, no problem.
My only other thought,
so bulky.
Yeah. My only other thought too is it common if you're using like bear canisters like that to try to like seal the scent of your food?
I don't know. I didn't when I was in Yosemite. I did not. I didn't seal it up, and it worked out okay. But I just thought that like I'd be extra careful.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Let us know how it goes.
I will. I'll report back next week.
We all know that hiking a mountain can be hard at times. So here's a corny dad joke to help you get over it. Ba-dum-bum.
It's time for it's part of the show where we do a dad joke here, and I because Dave Shits in the Woods is here, I thought that I would do a pooping in the woods joke theme here. So here it goes. I tried pooping in the woods like a real outdoorsman, but all I got was log jammed.
It's not good for anybody.
Yes.
No.
Yep.
There's nothing funny about woods constipation.
Right. So.
Hey, what's that sound? It must be time for the pop culture segment with Mike and Stump.
So now's the part of the show where we typically do pop culture talk. I don't really have anything to cover. I'm watching Squid Games. But
how do you? So I just finished watching that with Ash. How do you like it so far?
So far, so good. I like it. It's a good show.
We enjoyed it.
Getting a little repetitive. Like they can move it along a bit. And right now too, the problem that I'm dealing with is that I've also got the Tour de France is on. So that's like 5 hours every night.
Very similar.
Yeah. So I got to decide which one I'm going to commit to.
It's screen.
True. I could do that.
Yeah, like the old days.
Yeah. Anything
Squid Games is a thing. We just finished it. Can't say anything, but it picks up.
No, I don't want to give any spoilers yet because it's too new. But yeah, I kind of agreed. I feel like they could have maybe consolidated it a little bit, but I get how they just split up everything now and nothing's just like 6 episodes. But it seemed to speed up more towards the end. But it was I kind of like the way it ended and what they alluded to potentially for the future.
Excellent.
It's one of those classic shows that you're thinking about the next 3 or 4 days, which means it's a good show, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You're still kind of unpacking it and processing it. And,
I agreed.
I really love the game show version of it, like the real life version of it. I thought that was fun. I want them to do another version of that.
I've not caught that. Is that like also on Netflix?
It is on Netflix. Yeah,
okay.
It's worth checking out. I thought it was really fun. So
put that on the list.
Excellent. All right. So if you need stickers, if you want SLASR stickers, go check out Ski Fanatics or Spinner's Pizza Parlor in Andover, Mass. So check them out. They've got stickers there. And then if you want SLASR swag, Dave, do you have a sweatshirt? Do you have a Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast sweatshirt?
I do.
You do. Okay.
Yeah, the bluish one.
You do. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can get so you can choose between our popular hoodies, the classic or V-neck T-shirts, and more. The color selection is great. Dave has a blue one, and they're
amazing. Yeah. Yep. Fall's coming.
Yes, fall is coming faster than we don't want it to come, but it's coming soon. And then if you want to show support for the podcast, we do have to pay Dave to show up. So if you want to use Buy Me a Coffee, we'll take your donations and then we'll give it to Dave for his appearance fee. So,
which we appreciate. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, and we want to thank
college and flying over to Turkey to get some hair. It's all going to a good cause.
Right. And then we want to give a shout out to Margaret and Spence. They're the latest. I guess you could do something called SLASR Senator, which I think is like a recurring thing on Buy Me a Coffee. So check that out. But big shout out to Margaret and Spence.
Yes, thank you, Margaret and Spence. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Senator.
Dave appreciates
Senator
it as well.
Margaret.
Senator Margaret and Spence. So.
Right.
Hey, hold my beer. It's time to find out what Mike and Stomp are drinking. On this week's Beer Talk.
Now's the time of the show where we talk about what beer we are drinking. I am drinking a beer this evening. Is anybody else drinking a beer?
I thought you just had a huge bottle of wine.
Yeah, right.
I was questioning what that was.
So I'll go first. I have a Maine Beer Company Lunch India Pale Ale. So it's a big giant. I don't know how many ounces this is. It says 1 pint. How many ounces is a pint? 16?
16.
Yeah.
We used to call these a pounder back in the day.
That's right. Before we fell in volcanoes.
Right.
Yeah, pound it, kid. We're going to go on that volcano.
Mm-hmm. So what do you got, Nick?
I've got a Whalers American Pale Ale. So brewery down in Kingston. Pretty good. It's Father's Day gift.
Nick is bringing the Rhode Island vibes.
About Dave, I think I saw Dave had something.
Yeah, I'm way on the other side of the spectrum. I got the Bulmer's Irish Cider. I have one of my customers who frequents Ireland, and oftentimes he'll be like, hey, can you cut down this tree or whatever he needs done? And then he'll send me a picture of whatever Irish alcohol, a lot of Teeling whiskey. In this case, he brought back a 10-pack of the Bulmer's Cider. The American equivalent is Magners, which you can buy at the Littletown Brew there. It's amazing, the American version versus the Irish. The American version is very sweet, sugary, and the Irish version is just cider. Like, it's more appley.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's very good, especially on a hot day.
I knew we should have gone left back there. Stomp, don't worry. I know it's this way. I've got a feeling in my gut.
Are you sure you're not about to have a bowel emergency?
Totally. We got this.
But I just blew out my hip. Fell down that gully with my 40-year-old microspikes.
Suck it up, Stomp. It's 4 p.m. We're at 3,500 feet. We got 9 miles back to the parking lot. Your leg may be broken. We got no cell connection, and we can't feel our fingers. But we're finishing all of my list tonight. By the way, I need some water. I'm empty.
I would if I could see what I'm doing, but my headlamp batteries are dead.
You gotta be kidding me. What a chump. This is the last time I hike with you.
Whatever, mister. Do you know me? I have a podcast.
Whatever.
Let's find out what Mike and Stomp have been hiking.
Excellent. So now we're going to get to the part of the show. Dave, this is your big moment.
Hey,
we're going to talk about the recent hikes, and you went out and did like a, well, there's a couple things. First of all, you went to Baxter, so I want to talk about that.
We did, yeah.
Then I also want to talk about this Wantastiquet whatever it is.
Monadnock.
Yes.
Yeah, Monadnock. So maybe start with whatever that is. So
whatever that is.
Wantastiquet, I guess is what I'm going to call it.
It's okay.
But just going to Baxter. So when did you go to Baxter, and what was your route there? Because you didn't do the standard like go up Roaring Brook and go to Hamlin and Baxter Peak. You did some unique things.
Couple days too, right?
Yeah, our friend Izzy, Where's Izzy is her blog, and she got a place and just kind of threw it out there, and I was like, well, it's the Alzheimer's hike, and the long and short of it is we decided to put a team together and go up there.
Cool.
So we could do both. And we got there the first night. We just kind of poked around. We checked out the falls, Big Niagara. I think it was Little Niagara, just to kind of get the legs going after the long drive. Those were really cool. Then the second day we got up and we hit, was it North Brother and South Brother and the coast slides, which are quite a trip. They're fun. They're pretty steep, can be slick. The code trail, I think, going between was practically bushwhacking. There was so many blowdowns. It was pretty rugged. No views. We got up on North Brother. The wind was ripping. It was pouring rain, freezing. Then the next day, the plan was, if the weather was good, to go Knife's Edge. And the weather was perfect, but then the logistics kind of broke down because it was a 40-minute ride. We were at A-Ball.
Yeah.
So we tapped out. It was like, well, one of us might go that way. And it was like, the long and short of it is like, we went up as a group for the Alzheimer's hike. We're hiking as a group, and we did. And we had a blast. We went up A-Ball, which is a pretty rugged trail. It's they rerouted that recently, believe it or not. I think in the last 10 or 12 years, it used to go straight up the slide. And then they rerouted it around the slide, which is still pretty rugged. And then you go up and lots of rabbits, which was kind of an odd experience. And of course, being the 13-year-old that I am, there was some hikers coming up behind us. So I just started asking, in a full tizzy, like, have you seen Fluffy? I lost my rabbit. Has anyone seen it? And the guy didn't know what to do. And he just kind of froze and he kind of pointed like, it's right down there. And I was like, I'm just kidding. But I don't think he thought I was kidding. He didn't know what to do. But anyhow, really great. I mean, Baxter, we got to Baxter, hit the peak, held our sign up. A family took a picture, and then the guy asked, did you take it with your camera? Which I thought was an odd question, but then it was his mother-in-law is suffering from Alzheimer's, and his wife was doing the longest day as a bike ride that day, and we got to talking, and his daughters got very emotional. It was a very emotional moment, and it's just, I realized in Maine, and even last year when we hiked together, it's like, this reaches a lot of people.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It really does. And I mean, it affects everybody, yes, but even the hike reaches a lot of people, and it was kind of a cool moment. People were kind of, asking a lot of questions. It was really cool. And to be up at that point, looking at Knife's Edge on a beautiful day, is perfect day. It was really great.
That's great. And did you consider, like, when you go up A-Ball, like, you could go across the Knife's Edge and go out and back a little bit if you want, right?
We could. Yep.
Yeah.
We came up, and not everybody's super comfortable with the rock scrambles.
Exposure, yeah.
Yeah, so we were going to go to Hamlin, and we said, look, if we go to Hamlin and back, it's an extra 4 or 5 miles. Based on time, we'd be hitting the edge of that before sunset, but we're going to go down slow. We know we're going to go slow. And we said, you know what? It's been a perfect day. Let's go back to the campsite, have a drink, sit around the fire, and just kind of enjoy
the moment. Yeah,
just being in the park. So we did, and it worked out great. Did I leave it on the table? Yeah, to a degree. Like, I'd like to do Knife's Edge, but it was such a great day that it wasn't. I don't look at it as like I missed out. We had such a great day that I look forward to going back to maybe do Knife's Edge, maybe tag Hamlin as part of the 67, and check out more. The park is amazing.
Yeah. A-Ball's campground is great too. It's just a great
really
area.
is.
So
yep.
Hopefully you didn't get yelled at by the park rangers for being too loud.
No, they did stop by and tell us there was lightning and possible hail coming, but that was about it. Yeah, that and put my pants on, but whatever. I mean, rules, whatever.
How dare they?
Was it in the brochure? Sorry, lady. I'm gonna have to talk to your supervisor. Whoopsie. Same thing everywhere I go. Doesn't matter. Whatever.
Can't take you anywhere. All right, so that's good. And then this backpacking adventure. How many days was this at? The Monadnock through hike that you did?
We broke it out. We did 4 days, 3 nights.
Okay.
And what I found is the way the shelter breakdowns, the spacing is hard. Like, we broke down the first day, I think was 8.5, almost 9 miles. And it's kind of your trail. So you go up Monadnock, you come down. We went up the halfway house, the old toll road.
Okay.
Which just sits easier. Then we ditched the packs at the Royce Trail, hit the summit. It was cloudy, windy. We came down, started raining. So we hit the Royce Trail. Then you go up and down Gap Mountain, which is a pretty steep little climb. Clouds broke. Wind came out. It was kind of nice. And then we went to the Troy Depot, which is it's the old Boston and Maine Railroad station. Mm-hmm. It's a really cool little museum. We couldn't go. We could have called for an appointment, but it's open like every second Wednesday or some weird thing. But it looked kind of cool inside. It's got a big old map where the trail runs through. But it's a private landowner that created like 3 campsites. It has 10 platforms. He has a little privy. You can camp right. It's one of the best places I've ever stayed. He's got little fire rings. You can swing out a grill that goes over it. It's got little like plastic box. You put kindling in it and then pay it forward for the next person. So when you get there, you get dry kindling to start fires. And
right. And we should just back up to clarify for the listeners. So you went. So this trail goes from Monadnock to essentially like Brattleboro, Vermont, where you finish up at Wantastiquet Mountain. So it's how many total miles is it?
It says 50.
50. Okay.
I call BS on that, but yes, it says it's a 50-mile hike.
All right. And then for the first day, you went up and over Monadnock, and then Gap Mountain is basically like on the the southwest section of Monadnock where you finish up.
Correct. I think it's part of the Metacomet Monadnock Trail. It connects through that. So you're basically following like white blazes. Very, very easy to follow. It's a state park from coming out of Monadnock. Easy to maintain. Into the depot was great. So day 1 was banner day. It was great. We finished up early. The knee was barking. I tweaked it a little. Just first time I carried that much weight and another year older. So these things happen. Mm-hmm. Then we headed out the next day and we hit the rail trail, which was just so much ass. It's just a rail trail, and it's like I said, Lincoln Woods on steroids times 1,000,000. You just can see so far ahead. And the grass was wet, so your feet get wet, and then they start getting torn up. It started cool because you're going through like the way they used to blast. It was all jagged corridors of boulder and rock and granite, and you'd see little switches and granite posts. It was kind of neat, and then the novelty just wore off. And it just became a grind. Is this the
Monadnock Recreational Rail Trail? Is that what they call it?
I think it's a Cheshire Rail Trail.
Okay. Yep. Eventually that connects to the Cheshire.
Yep. It's like a straight shot from Troy right into Keene. I think it's 14 miles. Mm-hmm. And it's a straight shot. And that's the thing, too, is you leave that camp and there's no camping until the other side of Keene, unless you're going to stay in Keene. So we got into Keene. Feet were torn up. We stopped at the poorhouse for a drink or too many, and then got some food and feeling pretty good. Dried our stuff out in the park. People were looking at us like we were, living in the park. Like, no, we're just passing through. I got an inReach. I'm cool. We jumped back on trail, and trail meaning downtown Keene, and just we jumped on Ashwelot is the river. There's the Ashwelot Rail Trail, and it's the Ashwelot Cheshire Rail Trail. So we started following that. And there was a Walmart, and my friend Mike, who's from Connecticut, he's newer to backpacking, so I thought this would be great for him, and he'll probably never talk to me again, but we'll get to that too. So he ran into Walmart for something he needed, and I started thinking, like, this doesn't make sense. We were going the wrong way. It wasn't the right rail trail, so we had to backtrack that. Then we got into Keene, and we lost the diamonds, and we went the wrong way, so we had to backtrack again. And we just reached the point where I have a friend that lives in Keene, and we're like, screw it, call him. He just picked us up, so we went to a brewery for dinner, crashed at his place. And then the next day, he just dumped us off at the Horatio Preserve, I think it's called.
Yeah, Horatio Colony Preserve.
Yeah,
that's following along on the map here.
Yeah, and it's a cabin his father had built, Tip Top House, which I believe is not the Tip Top House, but one on that mountain, where there's a random bed frame up there, and we had a little bit of undercast. It started as a beautiful morning. It just kind of went to crap. The bugs were bad. The trail in that area is very well blazed, very easy to follow. We made our way through that and just had a long day because we added the extra 2 miles from the day before and plowed through that and got into Pisgah, if I'm pronouncing it right. I've always called it Pisgah. And there's a hut, the Dort shelter, a really nice shelter. We stayed there, soaking wet feet, and throughout the day, there's a lot of carriage roads. So you're going by these, I guess you go on townships, big foundation holes, old cemeteries.
That's neat.
Big wide roads, stone walls. But the problem is you'd be going on this road and there'd be a little footpath and you'd look quick. You wouldn't see any blazes. You keep going and then you realize, 10th quarter of a mile, you're like, shit, turn around. It's the other way. And some of them are just so overgrown. It's a newer trail. And I don't want to sound like I'm saying it's terrible, don't do it. It's a newer trail, and there's no way they could maintain it all.
Right. It sounds like the connections between, as you get from one side of Keene to the other, is a little bit Troy to Keene, and then over on the other side of Keene. It seems like that section's not as. It's a lot of rail trail and street walking. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's more carriage roads. You're not really. It says road, but you're not. It's not a road. You couldn't really drive up it. It's old carriage roads, but yes, it's. But they're confusing. And you'll walk a road for like 3 miles and see a blaze. You're like, oh, thank God, I'm on the right trail. And then other times, there's 50 of them within 10 feet. You're like, oh, you can't miss it. Then it's extremely overgrown, and you're like, all right, take our time, check the map, check the GPS, recheck it, check it again. You're like, yeah, pretty sure. And then you're like, nope. But I don't know what they would do differently, is what I'm trying to say, is you just have to be very diligent. Right. And then we got caught in the rain there, storm. And then that night we got caught in a storm. It's just a lot, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And a long day like that, and you just kind of wandering with the bugs. It was a tough day. And the last day we got up, headed out. Immediately we wound up on the road, which we weren't supposed to wind up on yet. We're like, we don't care. Screw it. Walk the road. And ducked back in over Bear Mountain. And that was cool. That's where the ton of elevation is. It goes in what is it, a Madame Cherie's Forest?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it looks steep.
Yeah, it's because I was thinking, like, this will be good for him. There's not a ton of elevation, and he wants the miles. And, he was... we were up and down quite a bit. Bear Mountain was quite up, and then we went up to Tom Dustin's the gentleman who created this trail, Wantastiquet Monadnock. And like I said, he loves the outdoors and obviously hates people, because it was 0.7 miles of just like a grind up a hill. I was like, well, thanks, Tom. And then we jumped over to, I can't remember, it was Jane's something trail, and we followed that, and like, oh, Jane's nice, but Jane's dirty when no one's around. You get behind, and it got nasty. There's a big drop off in the back that goes to a pond. Then you go up to the mine ledge, and that's a climb. And you get a little look out there, very steep. Then you drop down on a service road all the way back to Brattleboro. And technically, to end, you're supposed to go up to an island that's out there. It's an extra 0.4 of a mile. We were like, yeah, that's nice. We're not doing that. It looked like it was actually closed. And sadly, I believe it's kind of home to a lot of people that use drug use. They kind of go out on the island, so they basically just shut the island down. I think there's a lot going on, which we were fine with. What's that?
Hinsdale Island, I think it looks like.
Yeah. It's right you cross over, you come out in Hinsdale, and then you cross over the line back into Vermont, right on the river. Right. And you're supposed to go to an island, but you can't get to the island. The bridge is closed. So overall, like I said, there's parts that are just, if you've done the Centipede Greenway, you know what you're getting every day. It's very similar. And you feel like you're in the woods and you're hiking. This felt like there was just a big rail trail stuck in the middle of a hike. And those miles kind of take a beating on the body. Then you're jumping back in, trying to navigate with, like, you're kind of already beat up, and then the bugs come out. So it was kind of a tractor pull. But if you broke it out a little further and found a way to break it up, even an extra day, I think it'd be very relaxing and kind of a chill hike.
Okay. All right. So
interesting. It's funny, Dave, too. You were saying it was just interesting navigating, but like looking at the sort of series of maps that they have on that Wantastiquet Monadnock Trail Coalition website, like there's a lot of little trails that branch off these things, and like almost going the same way. Like it looks like crisscrossing, and like around Bear Mountain, like it's interesting. I was kind of curious how it was to navigate that, because it does not look like it would be straightforward, even though they're showing you the maps. But I'm like, it must branch off like 80 times by the time you.
And the killer, and the maps are fantastic. They do an amazing job, and luckily the maps too. The problem is when you get on the maps and you're using a GPS and you get in the area, like the locals might call it, Slick Willie Hill, the old Bradford One-Tooth Jones turn, and whatever. Yeah. And then on the map, it might be like Old Colony Road, and the GPS is like Old Spofford Trail. You're like, where are we right now? Like, which one are we on? And we ran into one of the landowners. He's the one that built the shelter. He was not Dort Shelter. He was the other shelter. Draper Tent Site. So these landowners just create a tent site, build platforms, let people stay, build an outhouse. They encourage hikers. They want people using this land, which is awesome. Yeah. But I was telling him, we came down this, and he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, okay, how do I translate this? And he's like, I reckon you came over that way. I'm exaggerating, but, that Western New Hampshire dialect. And trying to explain to him, he's like, oh, you mean Spofford Hill? I'm like, I do now, and so it was trying to figure that out, like, because he's like, which way did you come? And I was like, well, this, and it's also that, and also that. He's like, oh yeah, that's Chesterfield Hill. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. So definitely a challenge in that regard. Like when you're in the woods, it's blazed beyond blazed, and then you get on the road and it's like, okay, am I going the right way? And there's a few beaver dams we had to bushwhack around. Quite an adventure. And then of course we get to the Madame Cherie, and we are adamant about following these blue diamonds, and we're killing the blue diamonds. We're supposed to be following red because it changed, and we're like you're killing me. like blue diamond, like, yeah, we need red. That's great. Backtrack another quarter mile. So my friend Mike now has the trail name of Miles, because he added so many damn miles to this hike by just blowing by junctions, because he's just, I let him lead, or didn't let him lead. That sounds so like arrogant. What I mean is he's taller and way more in shape than me, so he just blew ahead. And you've hiked with me. I have one pace. I hike like a bulldozer. So he was just ahead, and I'm like, oh, he must know where he's going. And like, oh, it's a big road. He can't screw that up. And I'm like, it's the wrong road. We're supposed to take a footpath. But I do recommend it. It's if you broke it out, especially the Gap Mountain section, just to stay at that Troy campsite is worth it.
Okay.
Even if you did a day section, go out to Troy and back, or just get picked up, it is a cool place to stay.
All right. Well, we'll put the links to the Wantastiquet Monadnock Trail info on our on the show notes here, and then I'll check it out. I got a long list. I'm going to add this to it. Yeah,
I do. Like I said, I recommend the Sunapee Greenway first. I just think it's a more developed and better used trail. The rail trail, even if you want to stealth camp, you can't. Like, it's
you can't do it.
You're up high on a rail. You got to figure, like, they don't build it low enough so it could flood. So if you want water, you're going to have to hike down to water. And if you're going to have to, you could sling a hammock maybe, but you're going to have to climb way down or way up.
Right. So, all right, Dave. Well, this is good stuff here. And then,
good stuff, Dave.
Nick, you actually got out, like, we're staying south this week, I guess, but you got out to Wachusett with a bunch of friends of ours. So what was that all about?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Just with everything going on, didn't really have an opportunity to get up north this weekend. So I think we have that group text that's always going on, sort of, and kind of had talked out. Paul had reached out, our friend Paul Lamar, about kind of maybe just hitting up Wachusett after I'd kind of chatted with him a little bit, and then kind of Peter was interested too, and my buddy Wilkie, who hasn't met a lot of the proverbial hiking crew, I guess. Hasn't met a lot of them yet, actually get out with us. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, we had Peter and his wife Deb, and then Paul and Deanna and Wilkie. So we had a good little crew and just kind of went up Wachusett. We went up early Sunday morning. We got on the trailhead like around 7:30, wanted to kind of beat the heat. And kind of just did a big loop. I know Wachusett super well, been there many, many times. So we kind of went up Stagecoach Road to Harrington Trail, kind of looped over the Link Trail to Jack Frost, and then eventually made our way up over to Mountain House, and then kind of dipped down a little bit onto Upper Link, and then back over to Harrington. Got the lookout at Josty's Vista over there, and then went over the summit, came back down Pine Hill Trail, which is probably one of the steeper trails there. Actually an old ski trail back in the day, I believe. And some really nice trail work. The Worcester AMC has been improving that a lot. Some really just nice work with all the stone steps pretty much that probably go up 400 or 500 feet on that side of Wachusett. And then after coming down Pine Hill, we made our way around Bicentennial and pretty much to Echo Lake Trail, and then back down to the parking lot where we started. So I think we were out for probably a couple hours, pretty leisurely hike, a lot of fun chatting, a lot of laughs. And then we were looking for a brewery. I know a lot of times we'll mention sort of brews after hikes, and tough finding a place that was actually open. The first place we looked at was actually in is it like Great Bear Lodge or something, or Wolf Lodge that's up over there, kind of the family place. So kind of botched on that. And then we went to a place that I believe was, I forget what town it was in over there, but maybe like 10 minutes from there, and they were closed. So eventually we ended up at a Dirigible Brewing Co., which was sort of right off 495 in the area. And yeah, they were solid. We had a couple beers there and some snacks, and then kind of headed home, and we were done pretty early. I think I was home at like 3:00 or something. So got some stuff done around the house, but it was fun.
That's a fun crew, and it's glad that you got out. So
yeah. Yeah. So let's hear about your hike this weekend. The rest.
So I did 2 hikes. I got up on Friday, which would have been the 4th of July, and I just did Franconia Ridge. So me and Dave got a little project. I've been talking about it much. I'll probably share on the show, but like I'm doing a little project on Franconia. I have a plan for a segment on the show here, but I did a little scouting mission over by Greenleaf and in that area there. And I was hoping the weather report that day. So I went up Old Bridle. Old Bridle, the trail is like immaculate. They have like all the trail work has been done up to like about 1.5 miles, like right below the Agonies before you get to that like switchback section. There's like the 2 switchbacks, but below that it's all pretty much the trail is mostly done. They maybe have one more section they have to do, but like it's nice, like the stairways, and they've rerouted it, and all the eroded parts are, I guess, going to get back to normal eventually. But it was good. And then I got to Greenleaf Hut, and I was hanging out there. I was like, well, maybe I'm a little early ahead of schedule. It was supposed to clear, and then I actually sat down to chill out for a little while. I looked behind me. The sun came out for a second. I was like, all right, I'm just going to wait here for a half hour, and then the sun will come out. And so I did that. I hung out. I was looking at some old Appalachia journals and stuff, killing time. And I talked to some guy who was like putting on a rain parka, and I was telling him the joys of an umbrella. I was telling him, you got to get an umbrella, dude, and go hiking with an umbrella. So he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. So I think I sold him. But so I was like, all right, I'm going to get going. So I head up, and like we were socked in the whole time. So I couldn't, there was no sun, no views at all. But I went up, there was 2 kids that came up behind me that were climbing, and they were like high school kids. And I think they asked me something, and I was like, yeah, I'm around if you need anything. It's fine. I don't know if they were like questioning whether they should keep going, because it was a little windy. There wasn't much visibility, but once I got up top, it was fine. Like you started to see 1 million people. Like there was a ton of thru hikers. I had a couple of Snickers bars and some M&Ms. So I was giving candy to the thru hikers, which was fun. And then I hadn't seen anybody except for those 2 kids coming up Lafayette. But then once I got on the ridge, it was just endless amounts of people. But it was kind of fun watching people. Like there was like this girl in a tank top and her boyfriend in a t-shirt, and they're like, the boyfriend's taking pictures. He's like literally just like stepping over the rock walls and just absolutely devastating all of the mountain vegetation. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like,
did you pull the SAR on him?
I didn't.
Did you whip it out?
I don't say anything to anybody, but I'm just
back,
like,
sir.
I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
It's amazing to me too, with that, like having been up there like whatever a month or so ago, like they have like little strings now, and it's like the walls are like very well defined. Like you'd think they'd at least deter people a little bit by the like
people have zero situational awareness.
Yeah. I saw people on Little Haystack doing the same thing, like 2 people just walking out to take pictures, like literally in the middle of all these like wildflowers like blooming, and I'm just like, I don't know.
They don't know, Nick. They're into the girl had no gear. She's in a tank top. It's like, it was probably 40 degrees. I mean, she's freezing, and he's in a t-shirt, and he's got like a string backpack that has nothing in it, maybe a bottle of water. I mean, they had no clue. They don't know. They had no situational awareness.
You don't know what you don't know.
Getting the Insta pictures.
I don't say a word. I was just like,
yeah,
good one. But I headed down and went over to Shining Rock. I did a little bit of a dive down Shining Rock, and I was looking, and I was kind of like, yeah, you could definitely bushwhack down from there. It looks like there's some herd paths down from there, but I didn't do it. I just went pretty far down.
From Shining Rock to lower on Fallen Waters, or down
I
to
think
Shining
eventually
Rock
you'd probably just bushwhack and hit the real trail somewhere.
Okay.
The bike trail somehow.
So it was coming like down from Shining Rock that you could see.
Yeah, I dipped down pretty low. I couldn't even see like the path. I went down a little bit.
Does that head towards the drainage if you bushwhack that way?
I think so. Yeah, it has to. I saw a couple
kind
of
forces that way, I think.
Exactly.
Right?
I was like, yeah, you could definitely bushwhack down this and get to the bike path and then cut back over. But yeah, that was cool. And then I just went down, and I've sort of thought like, all right, this may be the last time that this trail is open. I think they're going to reroute it eventually. So who knows? But it was fun. And then the next day, Mrs. Mike was nice enough to give me another free pass. I met the crew, so our text group crew. That Dave, you got to get on the text. I'll get you.
Yeah, I'm sitting right here. I
know. Sorry, geez. Sorry. Well,
right.
anyway, there's this group that you're. There's this group that you're not in, Dave.
You guys sound like you have a great time. That's great.
There was a text group that had you on it.
I went to I did the Randolph hike once, and I guess I blew it. That was my hiking group audition. Like, you know what? He doesn't really cut it. Too many Mr. T jokes.
Well, Liz is in the group, so I figured she'd tell you about it.
Yeah, no, she's too notable now. Right.
Right. So.
Oh, it's the notable hikers group. That's why.
That's right. The NHG.
Yeah. But anyway, so I came up with
the secret Wantastiquet. They know how to say it. They just.
But I threw out the dry river. I was like, I've never been to the dry river. I feel like the dry river and the wild river I've got on my radar. And I was like, let's do the dry river and see what it's all about. Really had no idea what I was getting into. And we had a good crew that went with us. There was 6 of us. And Mark Lindeberg, Nobby Hikes, came, and he brought Knox, the dog, too. So we had six humans and 1 dog, which was good. And it was good. The Dry River, I don't know if you guys have been out there, but it's a fun trail. It's sort of it's like a story of like 3 different trails, really. Like the beginning part is it's a long hike, probably like 5 miles, side hill along a river. And there's a couple of washouts that you have to navigate over. A lot of, like I said, side hill stuff. There's a cool waterfall, the Dry River waterfall, that's about 3 or 4 miles down, which is a fantastic spot. There's three backpacking sites, maybe one about 2.5 miles in, another one maybe 4 miles in, and then another one looks like it's right by that Dry River Falls. And then the second part of the hike, I think, is really the approach to the head wall, which is like a swampy kind of like it's very wilderness forest trail. Like there's like a lot of blowdowns. It's not well marked. It's a little bit of navigation, a little bit of up and down as you enter the head wall. And then as you approach the head wall, you can see Boot Spur and Isolation off to your right. And then you can see Monroe directly in front of you. And it's this Oaks Gulf, I think they call it, or Oaks Ravine, which basically the Dry River Trail approaches the head wall. And, it's a quick climb. Maybe I think you climb up about 600-700 feet, and then you get above tree line, and then you're kind of in this open meadow area. It feels a little bit like the Alpine Garden, a little bit more side hill, I think, but you kind of go across, and then you pop up in the section that is above Lakes of the Cloud. So you're maybe about 150 feet above Lakes of the Cloud, and you see this really unique view of Mount Washington's off to your right, and then you see both of the lakes, and then the hut, and you're over it looking directly down into like Ammonoosuc. I guess you can't really see Ammonoosuc, but you're on that angle there. So it's kind of a little bit of a different angle than you see lakes from Monroe. And I thought it was pretty unique. And then we just got to the hut, got some water, hiked Monroe, and then went down Ammonoosuc, and we were out. So it was about 14 miles total. I think maybe about 4,500, maybe 5,000 feet of elevation gain up and down. And awesome pictures, awesome views. Didn't see a soul other than I did see Northeast Discovery. We ran into him maybe at like mile 4 of the Dry River. He was coming out from an overnight trip to Isolation, so I talked to him. He's a listener. It was great to run into him. But other than that, we saw like one other Forest Service volunteer that was tracking. He was counting wilderness visitors and asking us just where we were going and like doing a survey for the visitor management tracking. And then that was really it. A couple of other people, but didn't see too many people in Dry River at all.
Wild. I watched the video that Mark Nobby Hikes on YouTube put up, and it looked pretty good. It looked like there were some pretty sketchy areas where there was like slid out into the drainage that you guys were going across.
Yeah, there's like 2 washouts. One significant washout that's really just completely wiped away. So it's just side hill and a loose scree field. It held pretty good. But I could see like if there's bad weather, like that thing must just get worse and worse over the years. And then there's a couple of other smaller washouts on the side of the river. Okay. That's really it. So, but it's a tough trail to like maintain, I would imagine. Like it's just A lot of side hill for the first 4 or 5 miles.
Just looking at the topography, you don't really have any room to go left or right. I mean, you're in like a valley.
It's such a funnel.
That's probably why it's the dry river, because it looks like there should be a river flowing through there.
It's such a funnel, and honestly, like the campsites on those, like I remember there was a guy that got killed down there. He got swept up in a like a flash flood or something. I wouldn't mess around with that place in rainy weather, like because the way that the campsites are set up is like it's literally just a funnel, and I think that like it's probably a pretty good chance that you could get in trouble down there. Like the water is just going to flow. It's just you're just in the valley. And it's just
science.
Yeah.
Just pure science. Like it just has no place to go but down and down. Like
I never really realized, probably just because I've never looked at the trail before, but it is like you're sandwiched, like the eastern side, you get that whole Montalban Ridge that goes up to Isolation and Davis and stuff. And then the west, you get the Prezi. So I would think too, there must be snow melt just draining in there like long into the spring.
Right. Yeah.
Where it must be really wet.
Yeah, really interesting place, though. Highly recommended.
Cool.
I mean, it's one of those places where I think if you get some good experience, and I go with a group, I thought 6 of us, it was fine. I mean, those guys are very experienced that we go with. I mean, they've been and they've seen everything there is to see. So I thought that the group was good. I was a little bit nervous about the dog, but every time I go hiking with Knox, I'm nervous because I'm like, what if something happens? It's an 80-pound dog, and I'm like, we got to make sure we can carry this dog out. But Knox is a solid hiking dog, and he's well prepared, well conditioned, and I checked his paws and everything, and Mark has him trained. He's a really well trained dog, so it worked out well.
That's awesome. Cool.
It's time for Slasher's Notable Hike of the Week. If you want to be considered for the Hike of the Week, simply tag Slasher on your social media post.
So anyway, but let's go to the notable listener hikes of the week here. So why don't you can run them down, Nick, and then me and Dave can pick.
Okay, sure. So first up, we've got Runcast Run, who did Baxter and Hamlin Peak, and they went up the Knife's Edge. Seemed like they enjoyed the experience, but it was pretty intimidating, which seems to be about what I hear from everybody that's on the Knife's Edge.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Zach Como did 4 days and 40 miles and 6 4,000 footers. Owl's Head, Hale, Osceola's Tri-Pyramids with Knickknack 7, who Knickknack 7, I believe we shouted out in the notable hikes last episode, but looks like they were together, kind of banging all of that out.
Awesome.
Liz Fay, our friend Liz Fay, did Mount Sunapee via the Andrew Brook Trail.
Nope.
That's amazing. Amazing that she did that.
Nope. That's a no. Nope. Nope. Is that even in New Hampshire?
For listeners, Liz Fay is Dave's hiking partner, so he's being mean to her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a bully, hiking bully. She's part of my hiking group, which is not a group at all.
No group chat, no group text.
My friend George Glass. There's another Brady reference for you.
I get it.
Yeah. All right.
Our friend Andy, ex-Summit Snack Attack X, Adams up the subway in King Ravine and Airline, and then down Airline in Chemin des Dames, or Chemin des Dames. It's commonly referred to around these parts.
Chemin des Dames.
Chemin des Dames.
What does that translate to? Cleaning the ladies?
Yes.
Chemin the dames?
Yeah.
The way of the ladies? Something like that. And this was also a 48 finish for their friend, Andy's friend, Rylan Bailey. I'm pronouncing that correctly. So congrats on the 48 finish.
Here comes your
finishing
winner.
with Adams. Pretty epic way to finish that. So it looks like they had a good day out there.
But here comes the winner.
This guy, Dave, is this allowed? Did you just submit because you knew you were going to be on?
I don't know what you're talking about.
We got Dave Shits in the Wood.
I thought that was Dave's Hits in the Woods.
Dave's Hits in the Woods. It could be Dave's Hits in the Woods. The Wantastiquet Monadnock Trail, which was mentioned on a past Slasher episode. I think I found it after we were looking at another SAR story. So I'm glad that someone tried it out. Or maybe I should apologize.
Yeah, that is where I heard about it. I got curious. I'm like, oh, this would be perfect for a new backpacker. I'm like, he's like, yeah, I quote enjoyed myself, unquote. I'm like, yeah,
it was great. I never want to hike again.
Yeah,
cool.
Just a lot of miles, but anyhow, yep. There's your winner. All right, we're done.
Now. Well, thanks for being our guinea pig. But yeah, 50 plus mile trail, and I believe you gave it an average score of 3 out of 5 shits. So it's meh, come see, come saw.
Yep.
Northeast Discovery, who crossed Mike. He was doing Mount Isolation for July 4th, set up on the Dry River Trail. He crossed your crew and said he gave you the customary greeting saying that, hey, you have a podcast.
He did. He's the front runner for the notable hike of the week because of that.
See how it works? It's collusion. Long Brown Path. Summer bushwhacking in the Catskills. I'm not sure where they were in the Catskills based on the post. Maybe I can't read, or maybe I didn't see the location or something, but cool. We love the Catskills as well. Our friend Paul Lamar just tagged us for the Wachusett hike with me and the rest of the crew. It was fun getting out with you, Paul. I didn't mention too, super hazy on Wachusett that day. We couldn't even see Monadnock from Wachusett, so it was kind of gross. Kind of expected that. Folkstar, who we've been lucky enough to meet in person. He's always getting out there doing interesting stuff. So this was cool. He camped out at Nancy Pond and then did Mount Nancy on his first day out. And then he headed up for the Vose Spur off Carrigan on day 2 for 89 out of the New England 100 highest. I've heard the Vose Spur is supposed to be kind of a beast to get up to. I think there's a slide and stuff. So very cool, Folkstar. And then we have, this is where it's going to fall apart, Dave. That's where it's going to fall apart. We have Arlo the Beagle.
What? A dog? A dog?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Arlo
I just
Beagle.
happened to be on his Instagram page as you're talking.
Is it bad? I love Arlo the Beagle, but I don't know. I was almost apprehensive because I just know Mike's affinity for dogs. No, this looked cool. So trip to Acadia. They did Mount Bernard, Mount Mansell, Mount Champlain, Jordan Pond Loop, Great Head, and the Anvil. Looked like a great trip. I still have yet to get to Acadia. We might actually try to get out there maybe at the end of next fall or something, but looked absolutely beautiful. The Beagle's crushing it. So I'll leave it to you guys.
Here's the thing about the Beagle is I'm on his Instagram page.
Here it is.
Here's the thing about the Beagle.
The dog knows how to smile for the photos. Like the owners have trained the dog how to smile for the photos.
He is a good looking dog.
He is a good looking Beagle. So the thing about Beagle, like, look, don't come for me, Beagle Nation, but like they bark a lot. Like they're a little loud, but I like Arlo. He's my boy.
That's what's going to happen. We're going to cross him in person. He's going to have a SLASR patch, and you're going to like, you're like, I'm sorry I said that about Beagles.
You got to stuff him in your pack and run.
I love Miles.
Whip out your saw and kidnap him. Like, give me the dog.
Yes.
Give me the dog now.
So. But no, Northeast Discovery, I think I give him the notable hike of the week because I ran into him. And also, like, he was traumatized. He told a story about how he ran into someone that was pooping in the middle of the trail, and it was traumatic for him. So I think
do not even look in my direction.
It wasn't Dave. Dave was down in Brattleboro.
I respect the trails.
He was on some island doing drugs with like the homeless people.
That's right.
So,
my
so
people.
Northeast Discovery, and then Arlo, you cute Beagle, you get the honorable mention. And then I feel like I got to give a shout out to Riley Bailey for finishing the 48 with Andy. So
you got to throw out a shout to Runcast Run though for the Knife's Edge. I mean, that's
true.
That's not something you do every day. That's a tough drive, and you don't get the right conditions very often. And that, if you've ever seen that with the chimney and the drops, it's pretty rugged. It's pretty badass.
Yeah. So shout out Runcast Run.
Looked upon it before and it looked wild, but and it sounded like too like they kind of their friends kind of helped them push through and stuff. Sounds like they maybe weren't like particularly like, hey, like I'm gonna go do it. Sound like they kind of overcame maybe some fears and stuff. So.
Right.
Big kudos to that. That's awesome.
I give a shout out to the finishing of the 48 too. Is it Riley M. Bailey? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
That's just one word, like Riley Bailey.
Yeah, Riley M. Bailey, I think so.
And there was much rejoicing.
Let's dive into some White Mountains history, shall we?
All right, good work, notable hikers. But moving on to, I want to do a little segment here on the Wayback Machine. So this is a shout out. I got most of this information from the Appalachia Journal accident report write-ups here. Honestly, there's not a lot online about this story. There's a couple of news articles. I think what I need to do to research this is...
Did you have the Appalachia from this?
I got it. I was sitting in.
This is when you were at the hut.
I was at the hut, and I just anytime I go to the hut,
I Googled it,
I immediately
and I'm like,
I'll grab a stack of like 10 Appalachians. I go right to the accident reports.
Okay. Not to be morbid, but I Googled it when we first talked about it. He coincidentally had the same name as the journalist.
Exactly.
I was like, oh crap! I'm like, when did this happen in the woods? And I was like,
And there's another.
There was a journalist that was beheaded, and it was fairly recent. He was a New Hampshire journalist, and by the same name, and that threw me because I'm like, I don't think I want to hike in the woods anymore.
And one of his hiking partners was Thomas Hearns, which is like the boxer. So there's a lot of generic names.
I didn't connect that. Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I just I got this from Appalachia from I think it was like 1989 or 1990, but it was based on a fatality that happened in the summer of 1988. So the hiker's name is James Foley, and the situation happened on Saturday, July 9th in 1988. There's a couple of things about this that for people to be aware. When you're reading these old journals, the trail names are not the same. Like, so Lincoln Woods Trail from the parking lot all the way up to that junction where you go over the bridge and it splits off to Franconia Brook and it splits off to Bondcliff Trail. That used to be called the Wilderness Trail. So it was very confusing in the beginning when I read this because the Wilderness Trail, as I know it, is basically like an extension beyond Bondcliff where it's basically an abandoned trail now. But essentially, like the Wilderness Trail is what we call the Lincoln Woods Trail, the Death March Trail. So it was a little bit confusing at first because I was trying to figure out like what was happening here. But I've got the trail systems down and everything here. But essentially, what happened is that there was 4 friends from Massachusetts set out on an overnight hike from Lincoln Woods to 13 Falls campsite on Saturday, July 9th. So the main person that we're going to talk about is a 21-year-old named James Foley from Milton, Massachusetts. So Milton is like right on the outskirts of Boston. So Milton and Quincy are where these kids were from. And Milton and Quincy basically, like Quincy's like right next to South Boston and in Dorchester. And then you've got Quincy and Milton. So it's all sort of like close to Boston kids. So James Foley was 21 years old from Milton. He was hiking with 19-year-old Thomas Hearns of Milton, Mass., and then 2 brothers, James and David Skinner, who were both 21 of Quincy, Mass. Now, Foley's background is interesting. This was his first camping trip, and it was actually the first time that this guy had been out on his own in the last 6 years because he had, I guess if I'm doing the math here, when he was 15, he suffered a serious brain injury and had short-term memory impairment. He had bouts of depression, and then he also had a proclivity for extraordinary long periods of sleep. So, which is a weird sort of, I guess, side effect to his brain injuries. But he would sleep for long periods of time, short-term memory. I couldn't get any information on whether or not this was a situation where like it was really bad when he was 15, 16, 17, and he got better by the time he was 21. There's no information about like what triggered I guess his parents and him deciding like all of a sudden he could go from being basically mentally impaired to let's go on this big overnight backpacking camping trip. So kind of a weird situation, but this sets it up. So again, serious brain injury, short-term memory. On the day of the hike, they left from Lincoln Woods onto the Wilderness Trail. Now, again, this is 1988. They called it the Wilderness Trail. It's actually Lincoln Woods Trail. And Foley, I guess during that hike, they headed out to 13 Falls. He experienced like, I guess, extreme fatigue, so much so that by like 4:30, when they got to 13 Falls, he went to sleep at 4:30 in the afternoon and slept for 15 and a half hours, which basically means that I think if I'm doing the math here, he got up somewhere around 8 o'clock the next morning. So extremely fatigued, wasn't doing that great, and slept for a long period of time. That morning, his companions reported that Foley did not eat breakfast that morning. So he was with, like I said, he was with 3 other guys, Thomas Hearns, 19, and then James and David Skinner, both 21. I'm assuming they were twins, Either that or they were Irish twins. I don't know, one way or the other. But again, he sleeps for 15 and a half hours. The next morning, his companions report that Foley did not eat breakfast. And then they were hiking out. I guess their plan was to go swimming, and then they were going to hike out and be done with it. Foley was having trouble keeping up by 10 in the morning. The friends were anxious to go swimming. It doesn't say where they were going, but I'm guessing maybe they were going to Franconia Falls. That to me makes sense because they were on the, I guess they were on the Franconia Brook Trail, which is the trail that goes behind Owl's Head. Lincoln Brook goes in front of Owl's Head, closer to the Lafayette side, and then Franconia Brook goes off the back side of it. So by 10 o'clock in the morning, he's having trouble keeping up. The friends are anxious to go swimming. At some point, they make the decision that they're going to go ahead farther up the trail, and they're going to go swimming. And they tell Foley, like, hey, meet us up there, and we'll be there when you get there. But this is at 10 in the morning. At 11 a.m., 2 hikers from Bellingham, Mass. report that they see Foley on Franconia Brook Trail near the junction of Hellgate Ravine. So Hellgate Ravine would be about 2.5 miles from 13 Fall. Again, off that backside of Franconia Brook. I haven't hiked on this side. I've only been on the Lincoln Brook side. I don't know either one of you guys been on Franconia Brook. I don't really know what it's like. I'm guessing swampy, but I don't know.
No, I've never been. I mean, the first time we did Owl's Head, which I feel like nobody does anymore, but we didn't do like the Black Pond Bushwhacker or anything, but we did Franconia Brook Trail up to where the junction of Lincoln Brook Trail.
Right.
Which was pretty much like doing any of the trails out there, at least just pretty flat and not much going on.
Right. So again, these 2 hikers from Bellingham, Mass. run into him at 11 o'clock. They place him around Hellgate Ravine or Hellgate Brook. And that's about 2.5 miles from 13 Falls. And again, we don't know exactly where the friends were going to go swimming. I'm guessing Franconia Falls or maybe the bridge that we now call Lincoln Woods to Bond Cliff Trail, that bridge that goes over, you could easily swim there. I guess the friends, they continued on. They finished swimming, but when there was no sign of James Foley, unknown to them, Foley was probably at the stage where he was nearing the end of his life at this point. But they were alarmed by the absence, so the friends doubled back to look for him, but they had no luck. So they returned to the road, which I'm assuming in this case means that Lincoln Woods parking lot. They arrived at the lot around 8 o'clock at night, and they notified the police around that time. This actually triggered an immediate search by Fish and Game and Forest Service workers that night. So they were out there looking for this kid at like 4 up till 4 in the morning when they came back. So now moving on so we started on Saturday, hiked in, stayed overnight. On Sunday, they hiked out. That's where they lost him. So now we're on Monday, July 11th. By the morning of the 11th, Fish and Game had mobilized to conduct a full search of the Pemi Wilderness. This search is going to go on for 10 days, guys, so just get ready, get comfortable. So by July 11th, the Fish and Game mobilized a full search in the Pemi Wilderness. The search was focused on Franconia Brook, but reports came in that somebody who had matched Foley's description was spotted on Garfield Ridge, which is way out. So then the theory became like, okay, well, maybe he doubled back for some reason and took a wrong turn and made his way up to like Galehead and Garfield Ridge somehow. But they didn't know. By that time on Monday, Foley's parents had arrived at the scene, and the search continued until dark with no success. So by Tuesday, July 12th, they started to expand the search with helicopters and search dogs. So New Hampshire National Guard provided a helicopter for the day. At the time of this, there was an exercise going on in Berlin by the New Hampshire National Guard that involved the UH-1 medevac helicopter that was in the area. So they they basically changed the exercise to reroute to do a search for James Foley. So this particular helicopter can fly low, it can cover large areas. So it was fortunate that the timing worked out, was another helicopter involved as well. At this time, they also engaged bloodhounds and then regular canine units. I guess the bloodhounds are able to, they gave it like a comforter that Foley had slept in the parents' cabin. It brought up some stuff. So the bloodhounds had the scent from the comforter, and then the canines just simply like get scents from any humans and follow a trail. So the idea was that the bloodhounds would hopefully pick up on the trail. So the bloodhound handlers and the dogs followed the scent from the area where Foley was last seen around Franconia Brook, and then the track sent them northward past 13 Falls and up to Garfield Ridge, where they then lost a trail. So given the situation with the bloodhounds, it's likely that Fish and Game was thinking like, all right, well, it makes sense that maybe they tracked up to 13 Falls because they were tracking back to where he went, but then it was kind of more confirmation that, okay, we got a report that he was up in Garfield Ridge, and now the dogs hit up there. So it kind of sends them off in that direction there. But ultimately, the even though they didn't have a lot of searchers out there, they didn't want to confuse the dogs. They really didn't have any leads for him other than just sort of the dogs hinting. They did, outside the core area, ATVs were used to search around the area of Gale River and Garfield Ridge, thinking like, all right, maybe he came out that way, and they were searching the perimeters there. But in total, they had 2 helicopters, multiple ATVs, 4 dogs, and 10 Fish and Game, along with 15 other searchers on that day. Additionally, Fish and Game got the word out at other trailheads in the Pemmy area and posted photos, and they were speaking with hikers about the search to see if there was any leads, but really nothing really came of it. So by Wednesday, Fish and Game really, they increased the search size significantly. So Fish and Game resources were tripled. They leveraged Civil Air Patrol, which was brought in to assist, and then the area of focus was Lincoln Woods. And then they also went over to the Cedar Brook Trail across the Pemmy and near the East Side Trail back over there. So they basically went on the east side of the Pemmy, thinking like maybe he crossed the river somehow. And they were searching that whole area there. By this time, the New England news media had picked the story up, and the media was on the scene, and it also attracted a bunch of volunteers for them. So on the next day, Thursday, July 14th, they actually had 50 people came to show up. So they had crews from Dartmouth Outing, Waterville Valley, Wilderness Search and Rescue, and State Police, Fish and Game, Forest Service, Civil Air Patrol, and National Guard, and other volunteers mobilized to do a search. They had a mobile command center set up at Lincoln Woods, and at the same time that this was going on, there was another rescue they mentioned in the report write-up that happened on Earline Trail. They were so busy with the search over here that they just deferred that rescue to the AMC crew so that they could stay focused on the area. But again, no luck. They covered all of the areas that they thought he might likely be in. Now, by Friday, the 15th, luckily the weather had stayed pretty well during the entire week. So really, weather conditions were not that big of a concern for them. It was warm enough that they even thought that he wouldn't have to deal with hypothermia in these conditions. So they had favorable weather throughout the week. That gave the search team a lot of help, or a lot of hope. So they continued on with a large-scale search in the area that he was last seen, which is around Hellgate and that Franconia Brook area. By the 16th and 17th, the way I read the report here is that they sort of, it sounds like they were starting to give up a little bit of hope. They had covered every area that they could conceivably cover. They had an army out there the last 2 days of people, and they weren't having any luck. So Saturday, Sunday, I think the Major Henry Mock, who I think is basically the equivalent of Jim Neeland today, he was the Neeland of back then. He sort of recognized that Saturday and Sunday was likely the last days that they could expect large groups of volunteers. Sunday, they had 78 people in a helicopter. No progress was made over that weekend, though. No sign of Foley, and people were starting to lose hope. So by Monday, the 18th, they kind of knew that they weren't going to be able to rely on volunteers as much. So 10 Fish and Game officers conducted a ground search. Major Henry Mock indicated that they had done all they could. The teams were exhausted. Financial resources were also exhausted. And they decided that they were going to go back and potentially take a look, like, could this have been foul play? The investigators took a look at that, and they didn't see any signs of foul play. Fish and Game did decide they were going to take a pause, but they felt like Foley was still likely to be alive. So what they did is they re-interviewed the hiking companions. And as they talked to the hiking companions, they uncovered some new information. What they found out is that the friends said that Foley actually could barely stand up when they left him. He was in no condition to walk, and then they maintained that they had traveled only a short distance from a campsite that they had passed by when Foley became separated. So given this new information, Fish and Game conducted an intense search of the area of 13 Falls campsite and in an area closer to where he was last seen past Hellgate Ravine. It's a little bit confusing, this part. Like, I wasn't sure exactly which campsite they were talking about. Turns out they were talking about a Franconia Brook campsite, which is farther down, about 4 miles south of 13 Falls. So by 1:30, they had split into two teams, one looking at 13 Falls, one looking farther down. By 1:30, the team that was farther down on the trail discovered Foley's body several hundred yards off trail after a shoulder-to-shoulder search. The location was approximately 4 miles south of 13 Falls, close to where he was last seen by the Bellingham hikers. They had searched this area multiple times previously, but because of the conditions, they hadn't been able to go in and do a shoulder-to-shoulder search. is basically what resulted in finding him. They did an autopsy on him, and they found that he had died of exposure and dehydration not long after going missing. There was medication that he had been taking that may have contributed to his death as well. Authorities speculate that Foley traveled down Franconia Brook Trail after his friends, but he missed a detour that had been caused due to a beaver dam backing up water on the trail. So there was a beaver dam. There was a little bit of a reroute. He probably was supposed to go right or left, went straight, and then found himself in the woods getting lost. You know, he's already got mental issue, memory issues and some other issues, and he just wasn't capable of navigating himself back out of there. So no real answer from the hiking companions on why they separated. The speculation is that they were just young kids. None of them were familiar with the area. The excitement and adrenaline and stress of the initial days of the search likely contributed to some wrong estimations on where they separated. And, this case has no presence on the internet whatsoever. So, it's a really sad case, but it just shows you, like, young people, bad judgment, separating. And then this is really an interesting case where, he was the first time out since he had gotten a brain injury, and this happens. So really a tragic, sad story.
Seems so preventable, like,
right.
Like on so many levels. And I had read a little bit that said something about the searchers when they went through that area, they were looking for somebody upright.
Yeah.
For somebody to be well. So they did not look necessarily down into the bushes or into the scrub. They might have walked right by him and just not seen him because they were so focused on looking for any kind of movement, because at that point everybody said he would still be alive.
Right. I have to imagine, like, the people on that search team, they must have taken this. They must hold. I mean, there's probably still some people that were involved in this search. They must hold on to this their entire lives, because it's like 10 days worth of searching for this with no success, and then they find it, and this is the end result. It's just terrible.
So it was the Franconia Brook campsite?
Was Franconia Brook tent site, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, what's crazy about that too is if it's where it still is currently located, you're right around that junction where Bondcliff
Right
Trail
there.
splits off
Right.
the wilderness boundary. Like, he was only like probably less than 3 miles in to the Pemi at that point. So it's like, it seems so sad that he was really, he made it over halfway to get back.
Right. He was very
mileage-wise.
close to that bridge to get back over to where Franconia Falls in that area is.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how far he did make it, and if his friends are just kind of like realize what kind of a-holes they were, and just being like, yeah, you wait here, we'll be right back.
Yeah, I don't know. The friend angle on this one, like, is very odd to me around like how they would separate. But again, like we're looking at it through the lens of like a lot of experience, and we think about this stuff all the time. This is probably their first time out. Like they have, again, I talk about this kid on Franconia that has no idea. Like we look at that rock wall and say, like, of course that tells you that you're not supposed to step on vegetation. Right. This guy had no clue. So I think that's
well, you guys have the common sense not to invite people like me either. So
true.
You know, that's why you have your safe groups. You know, yes. Like I'm not babysitting him.
Exactly. So, but
this is a horrible story. I'm not trying not to make light of it, but it is so preventable.
Yeah.
I mean, too, like being in the Pemi like that too. I feel like if they really weren't familiar with it, like a lot of that can probably look really familiar. Like, I mean, there's pretty much just brooks and rivers and woods, and you're in valleys there. Like there's no really visibility to like tell where you are. Like I feel like even going out to Owl's Head, like you can tell you're in the drainage and stuff, but then you sort of pop out and you're like, oh, I'm here. Like that whole area, I imagine going back, if they're not familiar, they're not going to know. Like maybe the friends didn't even know necessarily where they were or something, and they thought they were going to meet up. Or I feel like we weren't getting the full story from what actually happened.
Right. I don't know too. Like the thing immediately that stands out to me is like 19, 20, 21 years old. Like, are these guys popping mushrooms, or are they doing like some other thing?
Yeah. It said there's no foul play and no drugs and alcohol, but I'm like, it'd almost be like, okay, that makes more sense. They were out of their tree. It makes a lot more sense now.
Exactly.
I understand, but they basically, you got someone who's never hiked, who has memory issues, and you stick him in the woods. Like, that's brutal.
Or like, we're going to leave him 7 miles in the middle of the Pemi wilderness and hope he gets back. Like, it seems odd.
Yeah. So I'll do some more digging to see if I can get some local, or if I can get some news articles from the time. I just have to I got to do a little bit more internet sleuthing on that. But interesting side note on this one. So 1988 in particular was a year where Fish and Game had significant budget issues. And what I've kind of learned, and again, I don't know for sure, but my sense on search and rescue, the deal with search and rescue and funding at least, is that the volume of search and rescues isn't a big deal. If they got to go out and walk somebody out from falling waters or whatever, like the cost on that's not a big deal. If you have 2 or 3 of these long-term rescues where you've got 7-8 days worth of searching that you're doing, that's going to blow through the budget significantly. So in the summer of 1988, this was not the only long-term search that they had to deal with. There was a second search that happened 4 days later of a 41-year-old man from Lancaster, New Hampshire, who left home for a hike near Mount Cabot and never came home. This hiker's name was Stephen Harvard, and he was a Dartmouth alum. Matter of fact, he has some like books from Harvard Press and some other areas. I think he was a graphic designer that was pretty well regarded in that industry back in like the 1980s, where it was a much smaller industry. But Stephen Harvard, he was an experienced hiker and an outdoorsman, very familiar with the area that he went hiking, left a note that his plan was to do a loop around Terrace Mountain and a trip over Cabot. So Nick, when we're out this weekend, like that's the area we're going to be in. Yep. I don't know what was going on with him, but he did not return home. There was some friends that, went and said, look, Stephen hasn't shown up. And they went to his house. He left a note with his plans to hike. There was no indication that he was going to be doing anything other than a hike, but that triggered a search and rescue that actually lasted about a week. And Stephen Harvard's brother is a gentleman by the name of Andrew Harvard, who was a veteran search and rescue volunteer and a well-known mountaineer. Matter of fact, his brother was most well known for being like he was the leader of an expedition on Mount Everest to find George Mallory's body. So he was one of the early searchers to try to find George Mallory's body. I don't think he was successful because I don't think his body got found until like recently. But Andrew Harvard was actually one of the guys that helped coordinate the search for his brother during this time. And again, like he was a Dartmouth guy, so there was probably a lot of Dartmouth outing club people that were involved in this, and a lot of local people that knew Andrew and Stephen. So this was like a really, pretty well-established hiker. So they ended up doing a 7-day search on him. Eventually, his body was found around the 3,300-foot mark on the side of Terrace Mountain in a ravine near Bunnell Notch Trail. The autopsy results found sleeping meds and alcohol in his system, and the death was ruled as a suicide. But again, this was basically, you had, starting on July 9th, you had a 10-day search for James Foley, and then you've got a 4-day break, and then you've got a 7-day huge search for Stephen Harvard over on Cabot. So by the end of that July month, search and rescue, first of all, the budget was completely depleted. Second of all, the searchers and volunteers are completely exhausted. And then emotionally, I can only imagine what they were going through. So July of 1988 was an absolute brutal month for fish and game and search and rescue in New Hampshire.
2 tough days.
Wow. Right?
Wow. 2 tough outings. I mean, and to have those results, that's got to be so disheartening.
Right. So, and I don't know what was going on with Stephen Harvard. Andrew Harvard, his brother, actually, another sad story, passed away with early onset Alzheimer's disease at the age of, it looks like he was 70 when he passed away. So yeah, just sad story all around. But it's interesting. Like, I think that these stories, people forget about them. They kind of like disappear into the past. But I think that going through these old Appalachians and learning about them is instructing, because it's helpful to understand that, you know, these search and rescue events have been happening, and the patterns do tend to repeat over time. And, you know, we've learned some lessons, and I think that with the volunteer search and rescue teams, they've been able to activate people that are able to cover things much more quickly than they were back then. I think it was kind of a hodgepodge of, let's pull as many people as we can in, but I do think that the volunteer search and rescue probably makes fish and game more effective, and it makes their job a lot easier than coordinating 7 or 8 different disparate groups of people to organize these searches.
Yeah, for sure. It makes me think too, and I'm coming off, I had reread Ty's latest book, but it's funny too how much of it really is trying to sort of guess, and like you're analyzing sort of some psychology of what you think people are actually going to do. But it seems like those trends kind of what people have always done when they're lost or whatever, like that's something that's kind of held true from whatever the 1960s to whatever you want to call it to now, is kind of the way people act and follow drainages and things like that. So it's cool. And it's also cool to me to see what they were kind of using for equipment back then, with like kind of using Hueys for a lot of the ground searches, as opposed to like we have Blackhawks now that are pretty much used. But and it did make me think, like I'm assuming a lot of those financial costs end up being like if they're paying for fuel for helicopters or something like that. That must be like quite a big chunk of change to do that a few times.
Yeah, it's got to be a huge challenge too, because like you said, you're going. Sorry, stepped away for a second. It's got to be a huge challenge too, because you're basically going on predictable human nature, and neither of these are predictable human natures. Like, you're looking for someone that you're told is in a certain area who has a certain, physical capability. So you're in that area, then you find out, oh yeah, well he never really left. You're like, great. And the other one, his intent was probably to step off trail and not necessarily be found. So your instinct is like, okay, where would they go naturally? And where would their instincts be? But their instincts are to go someplace where they maybe won't be found, which that's hard. How do you, it makes the search that much harder.
Yeah, like even like I was just looking, like when you were saying like a ravine on the side of Terrace, like there is sort of that ravine that's like basically sort of from this ridgeline that's like south of Bunnell Notch Trail and then north of, I guess, where Terrace Mountain is. But like that's some pretty remote area out there, I would imagine, at least as far as the woods. Like it's not like the Pemmy in terms of how remote it is, but I would think a ravine in there is pretty wild and generally untraveled. It's not like there's a slide or something in there that people are going to like probably bushwhack up or something like that. Like there's nothing in there.
Terrace is very much like all the Kilkenny, all the Weeks. It's that like tree kind of narrowing to a point where you could side hill and disappear pretty easily.
Oh my God, there's like, it's tons of ferns in there too. Like you could lay down and never be found. So,
I mean, that's super impressive. They were able to find them.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So anyway, but I just a little snapshot of what was going on in July of 1988. I know these are not, they're not happy ending stories, but they are interesting, and I do think that it's worth like digging back in the memory banks and just remembering these people. It's sad that they ended the way they did, but they were out doing the thing that we love, and also it's just, I think, a shout out to the earlier search and rescue teams that were involved in this. And it is fascinating to me how they were able to pull so many volunteers so quickly without it's nowadays it's a little bit easier. You can call Pemmy, Lakes, Androscoggin, and you've got a whole army of people. But back then you had to, you had to rely on a bunch of different disparate groups. So it's just interesting how the infrastructure has changed and evolved.
And just take a moment too to just, take care of your mental health, look out for each other and be careful with the people you hike with, be aware of each other. But also, if you're going through it, keep going, get help.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but with that, Dave, I appreciate you joining us. And I think after this, I will probably add you to the text group.
I think it's time.
And you've made it. You've made the big time, and you can hike with us in the future.
I appreciate it. And please, if I do get lost, tell them where I am.
Yes.
Like if you could, that'd be great. Don't go way ahead of the falls and leave me behind.
I will never break away. So, all right, until next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about the topics covered in today's show, please check out the show notes and safety information at SLASRPodcast.com. That's SLASR podcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next week for another great show. Until then, on behalf of Mike and Stomp, get out there and crush some mega peaks.
Now covered in scratches, blisters, and bug bites, Chris Staff wanted to complete his most challenging day hike ever.
Fish and Game officers say the hiker from Florida activated an emergency beacon yesterday morning. He was hiking along the Appalachian Trail when the weather started to get worse. Officials say the snow was piled up to 3 feet in some spots, and there was a wind chill of -1 degree.
And there's 3 words to describe this race. Do we all know what they are?
Lieutenant James Nealon, New Hampshire Fish and Game. Lieutenant, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're heading out on the trails to hike here in New Hampshire?
It seems to me the most common is being unprepared, and I think if they just simply visited hikesafe.com and got a list of the 10 essential items and had those in their packs, they probably would